It is pouring down rain and has been most of the morning here at the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. As you take a look at the NFC standings, 2 teams unbeaten. Keep in mind the top 8 make it to the playoffs. Atlanta's in good shape. St. Louis needs a victory. The other 6 will simply have to sit out. Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Glieber along with Joe Greene. This is the type of day you used to love to play in, wasn't it, Joe?
Today, we're going to take a look at Atlanta's offense. During the strike, Coach Lehman Bennett said that they were depending too much on the big play. He's revived that, and they said they're going to play for the first down as opposed to the touchdowns. They have added Gerald Riggs, their #1 draft choice, to the backfield. He has the size of a fullback and the speed of a halfback.
Now, they're going to be looking at an interesting defense, kind of a new defense for St. Louis, thanks to the acquisition of assistant head coach Floyd Peters this year.
Floyd Peters' history is from San Francisco to Detroit and developing some great defensive lines. Their forte being sacking the quarterback. They have gotten to the quarterback 12 times this year. Last week, Atlanta's quarterback Bartkowski wasn't sacked not once. This week, you can expect a little bit more pressure.
59 degrees here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. You can see the number of empty seats. The stadium is sold out. But these are all no-shows on hand, and this is where they led the league in no-shows last week with better than 20,000 on hand. The St. Louis Cardinals in white with Neil O'Donoghue kicking off. Reggie Brown is deep for the Atlanta Falcons. Rookie takes it at the goal line. Out to the 10, 15. And stopped at about the 20-yard line. Field was covered all night, but the rain started during the night. It has increased in intensity this morning and expected to rain all day long. As you look at the Atlanta Falcons offensive backfield and receivers, that is an all-veteran crew, certainly, and one of the better offensive lines in all of pro football. 3 Pro Bowlers in there. Junior Miller, Mike Ken, and R.C. Thielman, Jeff Van Note. Real standouts. Officials have spotted the ball at the 19-yard line. It is 1st and 10 for the Atlanta Falcons. Bartkowski at the throttle. He's got Kane and Andrews as the running back. Lynn Kane, the #4 draft pick back in 1979, is really being challenged now for his starting running back position by young Gerald Riggs. Picks up 3 yards on that carry. Cardinals, one of the few teams in the league now with the front 4. Everybody's going from the 4-man to the 3-man. They've gone the other way under Floyd Peters. It's a pretty good front 4 too, and an outstanding set of linebackers headed by E.J. Jr. A lot of instability in that secondary. They have one rookie in there, Benny Perrin, who was a 3rd-round draft choice. 2nd down, 7. Falcons ball at their 23-yard line. Andrews, who had the big day last week against the Los Angeles Rams, drives up the middle and picks up the 1st down at the 31-yard line.
Frank, that's one of Andrews' characteristics. He loves to cut back against the grain.
In addition to those 7 rushes last week, he also caught a total of 7 passes and is the team's leading rusher on the year with 208 yards in 49 carries. The lights have been turned down here at the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as the rain continues to pelt down. This field will probably deteriorate during the course of the ball game, but keep in mind it's been in good shape. Hasn't been played on except for last week because of the strike. Kane over the left side out across the 35 to the 36-yard line. Charlie Baker, number 52, making the stop. Baker's been slowed with a hip pointer and was questionable, but obviously is starting today. It's a pickup of 6 on that play. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
Atlanta wants to win on 1st down, gaining 4 yards or more. That's the key to their offense.
Falcons moving from their 36-yard line. Early going in the football game. Kane 21, Andrews 31. The setbacks. Andrews driving over the right side out to the 38-yard line. Very nice, unassuming young man. We talked to him at the practice field of the Atlanta Falcons, and boys, that's some complex. We saw that yesterday at Sewanee, Georgia, which is about 30 miles or so up the road. And Andrews said the strike didn't seem to bother him that much. He said he kept in shape playing basketball more than anything else. Helped his quickness. 3rd and 1. Jenkins wide to the right side. Alfred Jackson is split to the left by Bartkowski. He's completed by than 63% of his passes this year. Kane looking for the opening. He squirts through for the 1st down at the 43-yard line. E.J. Jr. makes the stop, the former #1 draft pick from Alabama.
Well, this is a style of game that Atlanta wants to play. Coach Lehman Bennett was telling us yesterday that they want to develop a more controlled type offense, not depending so much on the big play.
As Joe mentioned earlier, Lehman said he spent a lot of time during the strike looking at stats, looking at films, and decided his team was relying too much on the big play and wanted to grind out those first downs a little more. That's the first pass of the day thrown by Bartkowski, and for Alfred Jenkins, it is indeed a very significant pass because it enables him to break the Atlanta Falcons' all-time receiving record. So Jenkins has just become the Falcons' all-time leader. That is his 306th catch. And perhaps just as important, it keeps his consecutive game string going.
Alfred Jenkins said he wants to keep this string going for his daughter. It's her birthday today.
Jenkins has now caught passes in 93 consecutive games, playing in his 8th year. And, of course, one of the guys who's ahead of him, Mel Gray of the Cardinals, is working on 120 straight. Here's Kane with the pitch over the right side. Crosses the 50-yard line into St. Louis's end of the field at the 47. Elois Grooms, number 78, making the stop for the Atlanta Falcons. Grooms is a very valuable acquisition this year from New Orleans.
Exactly, Frank. He was a key figure in allowing them to move from the 3-4 defense to the 4-3 defense.
Jim Hannafin told us he always liked Grooms. He always seemed to have big games when the Saints played the Cardinals. And when he became available this year, he got it. Cost him a #3 draft pick next year, but he feels he's worth it. First down.
Not a high price to pay for a player like him.
That's right. Andrews to the 45-yard line. Pickup of 2 on the play. It'll be 2nd and 8 as Rush Brown, number 69, makes the stop on the Atlanta running back.
Frank, this is a situation that Atlanta would like to stay out of against this strong pass rushing front four. There is a passing situation here, and you can look for Atlanta right now to probably do something like a screen or a quick out.
28 yards rushing so far between the two backs. Kane has gained 16. Andrews has picked up 12 on 2nd and 8. Bartkowski, sideline throw wide open to Jenkins. And that should be good for a first down, everything being in order at the 35-yard line. Carl Allen, number 27, coming up from the secondary to make the stop.
Bartkowski was telling us yesterday that any time that he gets a read like this, the cornerback's playing his wideouts a little bit soft, then he's going to take this 7 or 8 yards that they give him.
Tell you, if they had 20,000 no-shows last week, they may have 30,000 today. Doesn't look like, well, more than half the seats certainly are occupied in this stadium, which seats 60,749 at capacity. Again, all the seats have been sold. 1st and 10. Falcons from the 34. Andrews over the right side for short yardage. Not much there. Interesting note on Andrews and Kane. Both of them in college were primarily known for their blocking ability. Andrews blocking for Joe Cribbs and James Brooks at Auburn, and Kane blocking for Charles White, the Heisman Trophy winner at Southern Cal.
Well, they did have an opportunity to watch some very fine runners, so maybe they picked up some traits from those guys.
That's a good point. 2nd down, 9 needed for the first down. Atlanta at the Cardinal 34-yard line. This time Jenkins goes wide right. They've got Kane on a flank off to the left side, and Jackson in the slot off to the left, and Bartkowski wants time. Well, Steve saw something he didn't like in that particular alignment, calls time, and will come over to the sideline to confer with head coach Lehman Bennett. No score, still early in the game here in Atlanta.
Better.
Let the record show that at 8 minutes 51 seconds left to play in the first quarter, Mean Joe Greene has just put on his coat because he's getting cold. You always were a pussycat, weren't you?
Frank, I'm used to being out there working up a sweat.
Pretty good drive here by the Atlanta Falcons. They've taken the ball with the opening kickoff, haven't given it up. 2nd and 9. Bartkowski again going with the sideline throw and completing it for the first down at the 20. Now, it looks to me like they're picking on right cornerback Carl Allen, number 27. That's 3 that Jenkins has caught on him.
Yes, well, Carl Allen has been beaten deep, so he's playing a little bit soft and giving up that big pass in front of him. They're going to have to tighten up a little bit.
Nose of the ball now at the 19-yard line. 1st and 10. Look at Joe. Look at that. Look at this. I don't need a coach, Joe. I don't know why you need a coach. 1st and 10. Falcons from the 19-yard line. Gronkowski mixing it up pretty good. That's Kane inside the 15 and down to the 12-yard line. Elois Grooms, the left end defensively, made the stop.
Well, they say Kane is a better blocker than Riggs at this point in time, but it appears to me that he's running pretty good too.
I'll tell you, when they drafted Riggs, you know that that had to pump Mr. Kane up a little bit when he knew
I would say
like that was coming in.
I would say so, Frank.
That has a tendency to really make you fight for your job. 2nd down, 3. Atlanta from the St. Louis Cardinal 13-yard line. Every time these two teams play, it seems it's a high-scoring game. So be ready for that. Andrews taking it to the 10-yard line. It's going to be close to the 1st down. From here, looks like not quite enough. E.J. Jr. making the stop. E.J. was a starter as of the 4th game of his rookie year last year and is going to be a starter for a long time to come. 3rd down. They still need a good yard for the 1st down.
And this is the area when the defense really toughens up. The offense doesn't have that much room to work with and allows the defense to try to shut them down a little bit more.
2 tight ends, Junior Miller and Russ McKeska, in for the Atlanta Falcons on 3rd and 1 from the St. Louis 10-yard line. The pitch to Kane. Didn't get it. If anything, a loss of a yard, and again it was Elo Grooms. From the left end, the former Saint making the stop. It's now going to be 4th and 2.
Well, it appears that the decision has been made.
They're going to go for the field goal, and Mick Luckhurst is coming on. Here it is again.
In order to get outside, you have to block the linebacker and the defensive end. As you see right here, there's a lot of Cardinals around the ball carrier, no place to go. And Elois Grooms, number 78, making the play.
Mick Luckhurst, who last Tuesday was married to pro golfer Terry Moody in Athens, Georgia, and last Sunday hit a 49-yarder against the Rams, the longest field goal of his career. 28-yard effort here, and it is good. So an 81-yard drive by the Atlanta Falcons after taking the opening kickoff winds up in the 28-yard field goal. And Atlanta leads the Cardinals 3-0. There's the book on the Atlanta Falcons scoring drive. It was 71, not 81 yards, as I stated, with Luckhurst doing the job. And Luckhurst is getting ready to kick off. Took up a lot of time, too, as a matter of fact. 6 minutes, 33 seconds left to play in the opening period. And this one skitters out of bounds. And he'll have to do it again from 5 yards further back. Pretty good drive, though, by the Falcons, the way they mixed it up, Joe.
Yes, it was. They are very much aware of that rush that the Cardinals can put on. And the best way to stop a rush is to win on 1st down instead of those sure passing situations. Or throw the quick pass just like Gronkowski was doing then.
He hit 3 out of 3 passes in that drive. And, of course, both Kane and Andrews contributed mightily with their running. Last 2 times these two teams have gotten together have been track meets. 2 years ago, St. Louis led 24-6 and got beat 33-27 in overtime. And last year, the Cardinals led 14-0 and got beat 41-20, which was also played in the rain. Scores from elsewhere around the league. The Green Bay Packers, who we saw last Sunday, who are for real, leading the Jets by a score of 6-0. And Houston on a 1-yard touchdown run by Earl Campbell over New England by a score of 7-0.
Mick Luckhurst is a part of a promotion here in Atlanta. Kick with Mick.
That's a charity thing that they have going here. By the way, in that Green Bay game, Lynn Dickey threw a touchdown pass to Phil Epps, the rookie from TCU, and then the Packers missed the extra point. So that could prove to be significant. Stump Mitchell, who is from St. Mary's, Georgia. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Mitchell is out to the 40-yard line. He had a big day against Atlanta last year, and of course he sold a few tickets today, being from nearby. And Luckhurst, the kicker, finally made the tackle. So Stump Mitchell with a fine kickoff return. Young man who led the NFL in return yardage last year and is number 5 in the league after 3 games this year. Gets off a 29-yarder. Cardinals, you notice, have 2 rookies starting in that offensive line. The 2 tackles. Louis Sharp, their number 1 draft choice, and Tootie Robbins.
And Coach Hamilton was just drooling when we asked him about them yesterday.
O.J. Anderson with the carry. This is the Cardinals' first play from scrimmage, which comes with a little more than 6 minutes left to play in the opening period after that time-consuming drive by the Atlanta Falcons. Don Smith making the tackle after a pickup of 3 yards in the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7. There's the Falcons defense. Smith, one of the premier nose tackles in pro football. And of course, this linebacking crew is second to none when they're healthy. Richardson's hurting a little bit today. And the secondary, Bob Butler, number 1 draft choice a year ago. An all-veteran group. Lomax on the rollout to the 50 and will go out of bounds at the 45 after picking up the first down. You think that was a planned play?
Frank, it appeared that it was a broken play. He missed the handoff, and he made the best out of a bad situation. We'll see it here. It appeared that he did try to get the ball to his fullback, and he just missed it. But he did get the first down. And he did a wise thing that quarterbacks learn to do: get out of bounds, avoid the contact.
He is a very mobile young man. We saw him start his first game last year, the second game of the regular season, against the Dallas Cowboys at Texas Stadium, and did very well. And of course, later on in the season was named the number 1 quarterback with Jim Hart in a relief role. Pick up of 13 yards on the scramble as the Cardinals have the first down at the Atlanta 45. Lomax throwing, and the catch made by Roy Greene at the 38-yard line, which is good for 8 yards. One of the great athletes in the National Football League. He can do it all.
Well, Roy Greene knows what it takes to defend against him, because he did play defensive back. Hauled into the play for about 8 yards.
Said that helped him a great deal, having played defensive back in years past. Helped him in running his pass patterns. It's the Cardinals now on the move against the Falcon. Defense, 2nd and 2. Well, this game is going. It may be over in an hour and a half. Team's pretty well sticking on the ground and eating the gobs of the clock. Again, Anderson to the 32-yard line. O.J. is off to a slow start this year, although he's the all-time leading rusher for his team, and he did it in just 3 years. And last year, or rather last week against San Francisco, set a new club record for career carries with 1,011, going past the mark set originally by Jim Otis.
O.J. is truly one of the great running backs in the game today. He's a game breaker. He's the guy that can go at any distance, any place on the football field. He can light up a scoreboard.
That's another first down for the Cardinals at the Atlanta Falcon 32-yard line. Wayne Morris, by the way, is the other running back. That's the tight end. Marsh in motion. A nice hole for Anderson. Cuts back to the 20, 15, and down to the 12-yard line. First down, St. Louis. Tom Pridemore, the free safety, prevented the touchdown with the tackle. Nice cutback here.
Very nice cutback. This is what happens when you get a very, very fine pursuing football team, as the Falcons have. The linebackers kind of over-pursued there, and O.J. saw it and cut back against the grain. Got a good block right there from Tilley.
Well, Anderson is off to a great start. 20 yards on that scamper. His long on the year was 23 last week against San Francisco. And St. Louis just keeps hammering away up the middle and moving the ball down to the 7-yard line. Wayne Morris on his first carry of the day. Wayne, the former SMU running back, and as fine an individual and as great a player as you'll find anywhere.
Very strong football player for his size. They say he has the second strongest legs on the football team, next to Dan Dierdorf.
2nd and 5 from the 7-yard line. Morris looks like he's got the first down inside the 2. Some pretty good blocking by that young offensive line of the St. Louis Cardinals.
They're running over number 72, the big guy in there, Dan Dierdorf, who was moved from tackle to center on a move that some think that will prolong his career.
Long time all-pro tackle, being moved to the middle this year, and he likes it. It is 1st and goal. You know, Dierdorf did a commercial, take off on your soft drink thing. Only he told the kid to keep the jersey. He wanted the drink. Very popular in St. Louis. Morris drives into the end zone for the touchdown. Well, the Cardinals made that look rather easy. 62 yards on the touchdown drive. So we've had 2 long touchdown drives.
I think we're going to see right here the power in Morris's legs. He's going to make contact right there, and he just drives over the line.
So the extra point try to come from Neil O'Donohue. Roger Worley will hold. And the Cardinals are 1 point away from tying this game up with 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Pardon me. They have the lead because the Falcons, of course, kicked the field goal. And O'Donohue adds the 7th point. That Atlanta drive lasted so long, I thought certainly they scored a touchdown. But it's 7-3 right now. The St. Louis Cardinals lead it with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left in the opening period. Rain continues to pour down here in Atlanta. Don't forget, coming up next week, the NFL Today, which will highlight the Cowboys-Washington Redskins rivalry, followed by these games. A lot of action around the National Football League next Sunday. There's a foul ball. A mad scramble for the football, and flags all over the place.
A foul ball.
All right, let's let the officials unravel this one. O'Donohue obviously got way under the ball and just popped it up a little bit into foul territory here at Atlanta Stadium. Didn't travel more than 10 yards. So it's interference. Here, look at it again. He got way underneath it, and it couldn't have gone more than 15 yards.
I think that was a planned play there. In the past, we were trying to do that, but I think that they cannot interfere with the ball before it hits the ground. It has to touch the ground before it becomes a legal kick.
Here's the referee.
Fair catch interference. First down.
Fair catch interference is the ruling against the St. Louis Cardinals. So the Falcons take the ball, they get the penalty, and they wind up in excellent field position at the Cardinal 44.
Well, if that was a planned play, it backfired on him.
Andrews on the pitch, and he gets nothing. Elois Grooms at left end came rolling through there, and Grooms has had a great quarter so far.
Yes, what Coach Peters likes to do is to try to get them involved in some run stunts and some pass stunts, so they're not sitting there waiting for the run to happen. They get a good move on it, and that's why he got so much penetration right here to stop Andrews in the backfield. Elois Grooms, number 78.
A loss in the play of 5 yards. It is second down 15. With the ball back at the 49-yard line of the St. Louis Cardinals. And that kickoff, you know, you got to give the other team a chance to catch it. That pass is deflected and intercepted. Mike Dawson, number 73. As the Cardinal defenders came in there with the hands up.
Let me tell you, that's a very happy moment for a defensive lineman when he can intercept a pass. Here you see here the Bartkowski is trying to set up the screen. Greer gets in on a game and gets his hand on the ball. Dawson intercepts.
Greer with the deflection, Dawson with the interception, and we'll be back in just a moment. Coming up next Saturday, it's a game that's almost as big as North Texas State and Tulsa. Army-Navy, a rivalry that goes back to 1890, and we'll have it for you on CBS at 12 noon Eastern Time. NCAA Today kicks it off. Isn't it almost big as North Texas?
Oh, Frank, you're supposed to be taking care of me now. That's all right.
Cardinals get the turnover, and that's what they did last week against San Francisco, but more often than not, they weren't able to take advantage of those turnovers against the 49ers, and that cost them the ball game. Lomax back to throw it. He's got a cannon, and he is pinned for the loss. Back at the 35-yard line by Don Smith, number 65, the nose tackle. Fourth-year man from Miami and former #1 draft choice who just kept boring on through there.
Coach Lehman Bennett said if there is a better nose tackle in the league, he would like to see them. Most of the time, you'll see the nose man being double and triple teamed. Right here, he just breaks through and sacks the quarterback, Neil Lomax.
So a loss back to the 34-yard line. -13 in the play for the St. Louis Cardinals. Sets up second down and 23. Crowd really warming to the occasion now. Anderson got maybe 7 back as he took it over the 40 out to the 42-yard line. Jeff Yates, number 79, making the stop for the Atlanta Falcons.
Now, one thing that really helps the defense is to get a lot of people around the ball. Here are all those linebackers that from the Falcons that really are aggressive on the ball carrier.
Third down, 14 needed for the first down. Cardinals at their 42-yard line. From the shotgun, Lomax steps up into the pocket, drills it downfield. He's got Tilley at the 35, 30, down to the 25. Pat Tilley is at the 22. First down. Tom Pridemore making the stop, but Lomax doing a great job of stepping up into that pocket and finding his man open. Pat Tilley, who runs some of the best patterns in all of pro football, coming up with a big first down as the quarter comes to an end. Frank Glieber along with Joe Greene at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as we start playing the second quarter. St. Louis leading Atlanta 7-3. The Cardinals driving with a first down at the Falcon 22-yard line after a 34-yard pass reception by Pat Tilley. Tilley has always had great days against Atlanta. He's played against them 3 times and picked up better than 100 yards receiving in each game. Lomax with the pitch to Anderson, and O.J. puts his head down, gets it inside the 20 to about the 19-yard line. Of course, Atlanta, keep in mind, was down 14-0 last Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams and came roaring back. They're slow starters. Other scores, the Jets got a touchdown from Richard Todd throwing the ball, but they too missed the extra point. So they're tied with Green Bay at 6 apiece. Mark Mosley with a field goal for Washington to make it 3-0. Houston, New England are 7-7 in their game. And Cincinnati has jumped on the unbeaten Los Angeles Raiders 14-0. Our score is 7-3 St. Louis. Lomax on the draw. Anderson, he will score.
Here on the draw play on a passing situation, they sneak Anderson through, gets a great block here from number 24, Wayne Morrison, who springs him in the open, and he runs the secondary. O.J. Anderson it appears that he might be on his way to his first big day of the year.
Well, he's got 60 yards rushing here, 1 play deep into the second quarter, so he is well on his way to what looks to be a big day. O'Donohue with the extra point. And the Cardinals have been impressive offensively both times that they have handled the ball. They have gone down the field and scored. And right now, with 14 minutes and 17 seconds left to play in the first half, it's 14-3 St. Louis. 2 for the price of 1 next week, starting with the NFL today. We're going to go over the Cowboy-Redskin rivalry. That'll be the big game, the doubleheader game for you, preceded by several other exciting contests. Redskins, one of 2 unbeaten teams, along with the Packers remaining in the NFC, and they're leading Philadelphia 3-0 this afternoon. O'Donohue gets all of this one. Reggie Brown, 4th-round draft choice from Oregon at the 50. The rookie out to the 20, across the 20, and dropped near the 30-yard line.
This thing's got to go.
Cardinals scoring drive, 53 yards, and it took them just 5 plays to get there.
This is wrong.
And they really were very impressive moving the football.
Well, Atlanta dropped behind last week, and they came roaring back. Again, they have that opportunity to come roaring back because they're indeed behind early in the ball game.
Second quarter, and Gerald Riggs, number 42, the number 1 draft choice from Arizona State, has checked in at the tailback position. He's behind Andrews, and it is Riggs who gets the call with the pitch. Maybe a yard. How about from a defensive lineman standpoint, playing on a day like this? Of course, it's not a cold rain with the temperature around 60 degrees. What do you think, Joe?
Well, it doesn't bother them too much in terms of the weather, but the field. As long as the field can hold up, then I think the play would be fine. Defensive linemen don't like, well, no ball player likes a sloppy field. The footing becomes very, very poor.
I thought you guys always like to get down there and grovel in the mud and get the mud up in your helmet and the whole thing. 2nd and 8. Bartkowski with the sideline throw intended for Alfred Jackson, but well covered this time.
You know, with the Falcons getting behind early in the ball game like this, it takes away from what the coach would really like to do in his game plan, have a more methodical type approach to the game. Now he's probably going to have to let it go a little bit and open himself up to getting sacked by the quarterback, by the defensive line from the Cardinals.
This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience, and any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Atlanta Falcons and the National Football League is prohibited. 3rd down, call it 8 needed for the first down from the 35. Again the sideline throw. Same play looked like. This time Jackson made the catch, picked up the first down near the 45-yard line.
Alfred Jackson, the other Alfred on the football team. When you got an arm like Bartkowski, you can throw this type of pass. He was a little bit long on the previous pass. He came back to the same play, right on the money, over the head of the safety and into the arms of Alfred Jackson.
Bartkowski at this point is 4 out of 6 for 44 yards. Falcons have a first down at their 45, and we get movement on the right side of the defensive line. That's Curtis Greer, number 75, who jumped across the line of scrimmage. They're a little eager, those Cardinal defenders.
Well, I've known a number 75 to be a little eager. You'll see he's trying to get a jump on the ball. And to be a good defensive lineman, you have to be able to anticipate a little bit. This time, he anticipated too much.
Interesting matchup here. Greer at right end defensively for the Cardinals.
Encroachment, number 75, defense.
Is going up against Mike Kinn, the left tackle for the Atlanta Falcons. They both went to Michigan. They went to school together. And last year, Greer finally forced Kinn into making a mistake. Had a holding call against him after something like 21 games. Bartkowski's pass on 1st and 5 is blocked by Mike Dawson. Now, do you think that a offensive lineman can go 21 games without a hold?
No way. He just didn't get caught. There's the hands right there. Number 73, Mike Dawson gets he's got a block pass today and an interception. He's having a fine day for the defensive line.
2nd and 5. Atlanta from the 50-yard line. And one thing, those Falcon fans are quick to rain down the boos when things don't work right. They seem a little angry today for some reason.
Could be the weather.
Could be the score. 14-3. St. Louis leads it. Riggs trying to get around the left side, and Gerald Riggs turns the corner and gets to the 35-yard line. Picks up the first down.
A lot of missed tackles on that play, but some fine running by Gerald Riggs.
Those 2 touchdowns last week against L.A., the first 2 of his NFL career.
Anytime a runner makes it run like this, gets some good blocking right there. Pat Howard, number 64. Then there's the missed tackle. Then he does a good job of running on his own.
So a first down for the Atlanta Falcons at the 37-yard line of the St. Louis Cardinals after a 12-yard pickup on that play. Falcons trailing 14-3 early in the second period. 3 wide receivers in there. Bartkowski floats it out for Junior Miller, and the tight end couldn't quite reach it at the goal line.
Just a little bit long. That's one of his favorite patterns to his tight end, down the middle.
Junior's 3rd year in the league. He's been in the Pro Bowl twice. Had a sensational rookie season.
Here, the Atlanta Falcon offensive line does a good job of keeping out the Cardinals. He had plenty of time to throw the football, able to step up in the pocket and throw the pass.
It'll be 2nd and 10 now. Of course, the Atlanta Falcons offensive line, we should also point out, did not allow any sacks last week, as you see, against the Rams. So they really turned it around in that game against Los Angeles. Falcons also didn't have any penalties. against the Rams. 2nd and 10.
Greene.
Bartkowski didn't see it open, so decides to run it. He's at the 30 and has a first down at the 27-yard line. Well, the boos have turned the cheers, and as an old defensive lineman, you saw that one coming.
Oh, it really hurts the defensive line when you let a quarterback run, get out of the pocket, and particularly when the quarterback is not known for his running. Bartkowski does not want to run the football here, but it's just so inviting he has to take off. He gets a good block here from one of his teammates. He slides in. Very good, Bartkowski.
10 yards on the play, and a Falcon first down at the Cardinal 27. Jackson to the left side, Jenkins to the right. Nice cutback and a big hole over the right side of the line as the Falcons continue to block exceedingly well. That time for Andrews. Greg Pookie, number 50, and Dave Aarons, number 58. The Cardinal linebackers made the stop, but not before he picked up 9 yards.
Andrews told us yesterday that he reads the block of his offensive tackle when he's running that play, and whichever way the defender goes, he goes the opposite way. And he did a good job of cutting back, being off the block.
He is a great field runner. He gets out there and he kind of feels what's happening around him and then decides to make his move. 2nd down, a long one needed for the first down for the Falcons at the 18-yard line, and Andrews did not get it. They still need 1 and maybe 2 now as a result of that.
You know, a lot of times when you see a quarterback call a play like that and the results are like what happened then, you wonder why he called it. But that play can either look real bad or look real good.
That'll set up 3rd down. Still 1 needed for the first down. From the 17-yard line, a second tight end comes in, Russ McKeska, for the Atlanta Falcons.
McKeska, he's from my hometown, Temple, Texas. One of the very few guys that are playing professional football from that town.
Riggs trying to go over the top, and it'll be close. They had another tight end in there. They had Bo Robinson, who came in a running back position. And the Falcons are claiming they got the first down, but this may be close enough for measure. No, they don't need a measurement. The referee, Pat Haggerty, just simply eyeballs it and says first down. Atlanta. The Falcons have out first down St. Louis by 4. Bartkowski, 4 out of 8 throwing. Hit his first 3 in the row, and then he's cooled off a little bit. He only missed 5 in the entire game last week against Los Angeles. Falcons trailing 14-3 here in the 2nd quarter. Riggs to the 12-yard line, a pickup of 4. It'll be 2nd and 6. Lois Grooms coming up along with Carl Allen to make the stop for the Cardinals.
Stop by Allen.
It's the 3rd carry for Riggs. A little disappointed today after his Arizona State team's Rose Bowl chances went up in flames yesterday. Second down, long 5, short 6 from the 13. Andrews cutting back, reaches the 10. 3rd down. They're still looking at almost 4 now for the first down with Dave Aarons, the middle linebacker, number 58, making the stop. He was a find last year for the Cardinals, a 6th-round draft pick out of the University of Wisconsin.
He's one of those guys that coaches really like to have, a hard worker, kind of an overachiever. He's going to always give you 100%.
Both of these clubs, as you look at the 3rd down conversions, have done very well out of the draft in recent years after having some terrible years picking players. 3rd down and a short 4. As they work the reverse to Hodge, and Hodge is caught by Carl Allen as he goes around the left side.
I wonder if they got in their scouting report then. Carl Allen did not move. He just stayed there and waited for something to happen, and the reverse was coming back his way.
Floyd Hodge from Utah, who is the third wide receiver normally, spent last year with the Falcons, but the entire season on injured reserve, and now Atlanta will have to settle for the field goal. From Luckhurst, Morawski, the number 2 quarterback, is the holder. He'll put it down at the 17, which will make it a 27-yard effort. He knew it immediately. Luckhurst just put his left hand, fired that fist up in the air as soon as he kicked it. 6 points for Mick Luckhurst. Cardinals lead it 14-6. Mick Luckhurst getting ready to kick off for the Atlanta Falcons, who trail 14-6 with 7:55 left to play in the first half. Stump Mitchell is deep along with Randy Love. And it will be Mitchell 1 yard deep, but he's going to run it out. 5, 10, 15, and up to the 20-yard line. The stumper, a great find for the Cardinals last year in the draft. Earl Jones, number 20, making the stop for the Atlanta Falcons.
It appeared that he might have made a poor decision in bringing the ball out with the ball being that deep, but he got back to the 20-yard line.
Exciting little runner. 1st and 10. Both teams wigwag the plays in from the bench. First and 10, Cardinals from the 20. Atlanta really hasn't stopped him yet. Anderson behind the line of scrimmage fights loose and turns what looks to be a certain loss into a gain of a yard or 2. Fulton Kuykendall, number 54, making the stop. Kuykendall had a tremendous defensive day last week against Los Angeles. Scores the same in that Philadelphia-Washington game. The game now is in the second period, however. Defensive-minded contest so far.
Chicago likes winning, don't they?
Yes. New England over Houston 14-7. Neil Lomax 2 out of 2 passing for 42 yards. Anderson has already picked up 63 yards rushing in 7 carries. Lomax on the rollout. Oh, that's in heavy traffic. That could have been big trouble. Roy Greene, number 81, was the intended receiver. Kenny Johnson back there defending, number 37. But Lomax was asking for it that time.
Oh, he certainly was. He was getting heavy pressure from the backside, but he threw that ball right there in a host of defenders in the area where it was anybody's ball.
The LA Raiders are coming back after being down 14-0. They got a 31-yard field goal from Chris Barr and a touchdown pass from Jim Plunkett to Cliff Branch. And now that's a 4-point game. 3rd and 8. Cardinals at their 21-yard line. From the shotgun, Lomax under pressure again, steps up into the pocket. The pass is underthrown, intended for the tight end Marsh, but he slipped at the 45-yard line. And the hand is for the Falcons defense, who has finally stopped the Cardinals and forced them into a punting posture. Birdsong will punt. This is the first punt of the game on either side, and the leading punt returner in the NFC, Billy White-Shoes Johnson, is standing back at the 33-yard line. White-Shoes averaging better than 15 yards per punt return. Of course, spent the last couple of years in Canada after distinguishing himself with the Houston Oilers. Flag is down. Kick is high and a bit short. White-Shoes from the 37 retreats to the 35, up to the 40. Flag down at the 50, 40, 30. White-Shoes is out of bounds. No, he's not. But there's penalty markers all over the place. So hold everything. We had one marker thrown when the ball was punted and 2 more downfield. In addition, there was a question about White-Shoes stepping out of bounds at around the 20-yard line.
That was a clip right at the point where White-Shoes caught the ball.
Oh, he is exciting. He had a 71-yarder against Los Angeles last week. He had another 40-yarder call back with a penalty. And Lehman Bennett told us yesterday he was a little concerned when he got White Shoes because of his reputation, particularly in Houston. But he says now he is delighted with him. He's a great individual.
Yes, he says he's one of the reasons that has caused some stability to this ball club. He's a perfect gentleman.
Let's let Pat Haggerty unravel this for us.
Got a block above the waist on the return. A block above the waist.
There we can look at it again and spot it.
We're going to see Doug Rogers coming to us into the view right here. Right there, you see him right in the back. I don't think he had to do that. It wiped out a very, very good, fine run by Johnson. Billy White Shoes. You know, Billy, the coach said his legs are gone a little bit, but he still does a lot of work in the offensive.
Double foul. Illegal formation on the offense before the kick, then the foul on the return, so we will replay.
Now they're going to bring it back. See, there was a flag thrown on the punt. So you've got a situation of a double foul, the two fouls canceling each other, and the play will come back to the line of scrimmage, and the Cardinals will have to do it again. And White Shoes has had a chance perhaps to catch his breath, and now he's going to try to do it again, Joe.
Well, he said he took up jogging this past year, and which it really has helped his legs and enabled him to go the distance. We'll see if a 31-year-old man can do it twice.
Carl Birdsong, the punter here, is second in the NFC with an average of 44.4. He was fifth last year. For the record, Johnson had a 63-yard return wiped out with the penalty on that play.
You know, it's kind of unusual to have a guy that's running back punts at that age. Generally, they are gone or they're more valuable to the team.
Nice high kick this time. Johnson fields it at the 35 and no place to go.
That is at other positions.
Timeout. 6 minutes 25 seconds left to play in the first half here in the rain in Atlanta, with the Cardinals leading 14-6. Is the one yesterday between Missouri and North Carolina, with the defending national champions losing their second straight game. It should be something to see. You can see all the empty seats scattered around Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and again, all the seats have been sold. These are all no-shows. First and 10 Atlanta from the 35-yard line. Andrews gets a yard or so out to the 36. The Falcons last week led the league in no-shows with better than 20,000, and that could be even higher today. So the Greek is going to be wrong with that prediction, at least here in Atlanta. He said there'd be a lot less no-shows today. Other scores from around the National Football League: Redskins trying to make it 4-0. 10 points up on Philadelphia, and keep in mind they'll be meeting the Dallas Cowboys next Sunday afternoon. It's the second game of the CBS doubleheader. That's one of the great rivalries in professional football. 2nd and 8.
There's the game. They got the game up front.
Barkowski on a scramble hits Andrews over the middle for short yardage up to the 41-yard line. Now, when you say game, you're talking about stunts, right?
Yes, they want to run the games. Here you see the weak tackle coming across, number 73, Dawson, coming up the middle, keeping Barkowski in the pocket, and he's forced him out. There he's throwing the ball to his little safety valve who was covered, Andrews.
When you're talking games, instead of the linemen rushing straight ahead, they're circling around behind each other. And
yes, they're twisting with one another, exchanging positions.
3rd down, the Falcons still need 4 for the first down at their 40-yard line. Barkowski under pressure gets rid of it. Again, the short dump off pass to Andrews, who gets just enough for the first down at the 48-yard line. And Andrews is a handy guy to have around as he runs into the arms of Charles Baker, number 52.
Well, it's always good to have that little safety valve back out there when you get in trouble and nothing else to do. Well, that's your insurance man.
Do you like to play games when you were playing with the Steelers in the defensive line? Was that a drag, or was it fun for you?
It was a lot of fun. It gives a defensive line a little bit more dimensions, more options, more things to do, instead of just sitting there waiting for a big offensive guard to run over you.
I don't think too many people ran over you, Joe. First and 10 for the Atlanta Falcons as Bartkowski back into the pocket, going long again for Miller. Got his hands on it this time, but couldn't hold it as he was double covered. Lee Nelson, the defensive back, was there, and Dave Aarons, the middle linebacker, also with a deep drop.
That is pretty good coverage from the middle linebacker. You can see Aarons get real deep. There is number 58. That's good protection up front. They were gaming again up front, and they picked him up. Right there, number 58 did a good job of covering the tight end down the middle. That's a lot of range for a middle linebacker, I want to tell you.
There's a flag dropped at the line of scrimmage, which normally would indicate holding. And the option apparently lies with the St. Louis Cardinals as Pat Haggerty is about to march off some yardage against the Atlanta Falcons. And here's the call.
78 offense.
They can pin that one on Mike Ken, believe it or not. He runs up against his buddy Curtis Greer for the second year in a row, and they nail him with a holding call. There's got to be coincidence to that, doesn't it?
Greer probably told the officials, "Say, watch my buddy over there. Pretty good with his hands."
Andrews, and another flag goes down. Well, the Falcons, who are not whistled a single time last week, are going to have a holding call go against them here as they draw penalties on successive plays. It's one way to stop a drive for sure.
Greer got across the line of scrimmage pretty good then and forced that play wide.
So another 10 yards walked off against the Atlanta Falcons.
Holding, 78 offense.
Ken again. Take a look at it here on the right-hand side of your screen.
There it is right there. Got a handful of him.
Back-to-back holding calls against Mike Ken.
We got a screen coming up.
All right, we got a 1st and 30. That time looked like the Cardinals jumped offside. So that one may come back to Andrews. Got the call up the middle. So the wind has suddenly picked up here in addition to everything else. This is when it gets to be fun in the open booth here. The wind blows, the rain comes in, the monitors go out.
Illegal motion offense, offside defense, replay.
All right. Bears and the Vikings are tied in the second period at 7 apiece. Tommy Kramer with a touchdown pass to Sammy White, and Jim McMahon hit one to Emery Moorhead. Houston, New England. Steve Grogan has thrown 2 touchdown passes to Stanley Morgan. 62 and 23 next Sunday on CBS. Doubleheader Sunday. First games of the Twin Bill include Minnesota, Miami. And the big one that most of the country will be seeing will be Dallas at Washington. 1st and 30. Falcons back at their 27-yard line. Give it to Riggs, and Gerald Riggs around the right end. Up to the 30-yard line. That isn't rain you're hearing. That's a rain of boos from the fans who are here. And again, you can see all the no-shows in evidence here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Of course, it is Thanksgiving weekend. It is raining. The weather is miserable. But these seats have all been sold, friends. And the Atlanta fans, I guess, are more content to sit at home and listen to you and I, Joe.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love it.
Pick up a 3 on the play by Riggs. It is 2nd down and 27.
You can definitely anticipate a game on this one. This is 3rd. This is 2nd and long. They're going to have some games up front.
And the 30-second clock may have run down that time on Bartkowski. Well, all of a sudden, this game is completely degenerated into massive penalties. It is as sloppy as the weather. We're having a tough time getting a playoff without a penalty on one side or the other. And most have been against Atlanta.
Delay of game, offense.
Of course, Lehman Bennett told us yesterday, didn't he? He's a little worried about a letdown in this game after the big comeback against the Rams.
He felt that was one of the problems that, a young ball club would have, being immature.
2nd and 32. Bartkowski, big rush. Got the pass away to Hodge. And the wide receiver carries it to the 37-yard line. And nothing pleases you defensive linemen more than those 2nd and 32 situations. Huh?
Yes, we love them. You know, you got a guy, Van Note, that's playing center, who's centers are generally the quarterback of the offensive lines, and he's doing a good job there of calling the signals, and which is enabling the offensive line to pick up those blitzes, those stunts, that is, that the Cardinals are doing up front.
Jeff, of course, is a vice president of the NFL Players Association. They've got a big day coming up on Friday when they vote to ratify or not to ratify the new contract.
They're going to have to do it again. They're coming again at it.
Bartkowski got it away. Sideline throw, and it's out of bounds. Intended for Jackson over in front of the St. Louis Cardinal bench. The pass is incomplete. And the Falcons will be punting for the very first time with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left to play in the first half. St. Louis leading by a score 14-6. Dave Smigelski, who has not punted well this year. And there are rumors around Atlanta that if he doesn't have a good day, they could be looking for another punter very quickly. Stump Mitchell is deep.
Isn't he the third punter in the Falcon in the history of the franchise?
I think you're right. You know, they let John James go, who's a very good one, because they thought this young man had great promise, but he hasn't been kicking that well. That's a pretty good kick.
I'd say so.
Mitchell
kind of out-kicked the coverage.
Back to the 10, 15. Excellent coverage by Jim Laughlin, number 51, off the special unit of the Atlanta Falcons, and we have run down to the 2-minute warning here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, with the Cardinals leading 14-6. Frank Glieber with Joe Greene at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium in the rain this afternoon as the Falcons battle the Cardinals, and St. Louis leading right now 14-6. Cardinals with the football deep in their own territory, and coming up at halftime, Brent Musburger and Irv Cross with scores and highlights throughout the National Football League. Legends of the game this week with Irv Cross features an old friend of ours, Tommy McDonald, who enjoyed his salad days with the Philadelphia Eagles and wound up his career with the Dallas Cowboys, and then later had a cup of coffee with the Los Angeles Rams.
What the Cardinals want to do now is try to get a couple of first downs and going to the locker rooms with an 8-point lead.
Lomax has only put it in the air 4 times in the first half and completed 2. They've been moving the football well, Anderson particularly. Out to the 18-yard line, a pickup of 2, maybe 3 in that play. It'll be 2nd down 7. Fulton Kuykendall, number 54, making the stop as you see the seconds ticking away in the first half at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. St. Louis playing it fairly conservative here. Both teams with the full allotment of timeouts left, but not showing any indication of taking any right now. The Cardinals 1-2 and Atlanta 2-1. OJ bouncing outside across the 20 to the 23-yard line, and now the Falcons are going to call a time here. They at least want to try to force the Cardinals into punting the football, which would give Billy Whiteshoes a chance to do his number. Timeout with 1:14 left to play in the first half. Here's the timeout situation right now as the Cardinals face a 3rd and 2 at their own 24-yard line. Anderson has now rushed for 70 yards and 9 carries, but he had something like 60 at the end of the first quarter. So the second quarter really hasn't been nearly that productive. The tight end Marsh in motion. Lomax saw that Butler was drawn up tight with Roy Greene, so he just tried to lob it out there and get Greene to run underneath it.
Yes, this is a quick takeoff here. I think this is an ill-advised play at this point in time. They were trying to go up big, and all they had to do was try to get the first down to keep the down going. And
now, of course, the Cardinals will be forced to punt, and Whiteshoes will have a chance to run one back. Keep in mind the Falcons are down to their last timeout. We've got 1:08 left to play in the half, and Atlanta trailing 14-6. Also keep in mind they were down 14-0 last week to the Rams and came back. Low snap scooped up by Birdsong, but the Falcons were playing return all the way. They had very little rush, so there wasn't any pressure on him. White Shoes from the 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And Billy White Shoes Johnson is down to the 45-yard line. So the Falcons in excellent opportunity to get into at least field goal shape here. Randy Love, number 40, finally made the stop for the St. Louis Cardinals, but the Falcons will have a first down at the Cardinal 44. Fine punt by Birdsong here of 48 yards, but watch the counter punch by White Shoes Johnson.
Coaches are very nervous about this. He bounced the ball back, but then he gets off a very fine punt, 48 yards.
This return was 27 yards.
Watch the block. There's the block right there that sprung him.
Actually had 2 or 3 there down the sideline.
Great blocking. Fine running there on behalf of Billy White Shoes Johnson.
1st and 10. Atlanta at the Cardinal 44-yard line. 54 seconds left in the half. Steve Bartkowski, one of the strongest arms in pro football, going to Riggs over the middle. Riggs gets 10. Down to the 34. They have 1 timeout left. Hurry up offense here. No huddle by the Falcons into their 2-minute offense. Bartkowski with a sideline throw, completes it to Andrews for 9 yards at the 25-yard line. They'll get at least one more playoff before they'll have to call that last time. Ah, that's a fumble. Loose football at the line of scrimmage. Who got it? St. Louis has recovered at the 22. E.J. Jr., number 54, fell on the football. As Bartkowski pulled back, the ball wasn't there.
Yes, that's what happens sometimes when you get in a hurry-up situation. You don't get your good concentration. And there's E.J. Jr., number 54, going in for the recovery.
So the Falcons, who had a golden field goal opportunity, see it go right out the window. And the Cardinals will take over at the 22-yard line with 13 seconds left to play in the half. And a lot of the fans here heading for the overhang, trying to get away from the rain. Those who are out in the open. The second deck is protected fairly well here by the roof, but not so in the lower deck, which is where you're seeing most of those empty seats. So Lomax will let the clock run out. And the Cardinals will go to the locker room with an 8-point cushion as a result of 2 touchdowns scored on their first possessions. That's the end of the first half. The score, St. Louis 14, Atlanta 6.
And Irv, just as we start off, the Minnesota Vikings have scored again in the Metrodome on the Chicago Bears, and so now put it down 13-7. The Vikings will be attempting the extra point. This was the early action. I'll tell you, Irv, Jim McMahon looks good.
Boy, he does. A young quarterback here. Here's Emory Moorhead, former wide receiver from the Jets, goes up there as a tight end for a score.
Now, this is the Vikes' first touchdown. It's a slot left. Sammy White with a beautiful outside move. He draws one-on-one coverage, obviously, because Rashad is taking the cornerback deep in the end zone again. 13-7. Now they add the extra point. 14-7. The Vikes ahead of the Bears. Cincinnati and the Raiders, 21-10. And Irv reports that the Raiders' Marcus Allen is having a tough time of it on that turf in bad weather conditions. Meanwhile, Washington and Philadelphia. And Irv, you've been monitoring this game. You've got some highlights for us here.
Let's take a look at it. Of course, Dick Vermeil is standing on the sideline with Harold Carmichael, his #1 receiver. But Joe Theismann is really the man to stop. Here he comes out in what they call a dash pattern. Goes upfield to number 87, downtown Charlie Brown. He goes downtown for 65 yards and a touchdown.
Charlie Brown has scored in each of their games so far, and the Redskins are for real. And meanwhile, Irv, Buffalo and Baltimore, Frank Cush's young team under fire again. 17-0 Bills now. They are in the second quarter of that game. St. Louis and Atlanta. And, of course, I'm surprised by this so far. The Cardinals are outplaying the Falcons 14-6. Of course, you're enjoying that game on CBS. And New England and Houston. Well, we have for the New England Patriots Steve Grogan. He has 17 points. Archie Manning now quarterbacking Houston. He trails with only 7. Meanwhile, Green Bay and the Jets. A tough game in Shea Stadium. 13-6 right now, and amazingly, both teams missed extra points early in that contest.
And two great kickers. Who would have thought that Jan Stener would miss an extra point, but he did.
Now, we have got Philip Epps has been going wild for the Packers. He has scored both their touchdowns, and the NFL Today continues on CBS after these messages from your local stations. Welcome back to the news desk in New York. You know, when the Philadelphia Eagles went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, that was their most successful season since 1960, when they last won the NFL championship. And one of the stars on that team was pass receiver Tommy McDonald. He was supposed to be too small to play pro football, but instead, as Irv now tells us, McDonald became one of the legends of the game.
Philadelphia's Franklin Field is another one of those grand old ballparks that's been abandoned by the National Football League. But the memories made here seem to live on. Back in 1960, the Philadelphia Eagles won the National Football League championship right here at Franklin Field. And they did so by beating the Green Bay Packers. It was the only championship game a Vince Lombardi coached Packer team ever lost. As I recall, it was rather pleasant here that December day in 1960. And some 67,000 plus fans turned out. And what they saw was a pint-sized pass catcher from Oklahoma blaze a trail through the Packers.
Throwing out here for Tommy McDonald.
People always kept telling me I was too small. You're too small. You're too small. I always got that. And that motivated me. By me being too small, I was going to show everybody there was a place in the game for the small guy in professional football.
Tommy McDonald buzzed through NFL defenses like a bumblebee. And if nothing else, the fact that he played without a face mask earned him league-wide respect. But of all his admirers, perhaps his biggest was that legendary head coach who McDonald helped beat back in the 1960 championship game.
Vince Lombardi gave me one of the greatest compliments I ever got, and it was in the Pro Bowl. I'd just taken off my jersey and my shoulder pads, and he said, Tommy, I know I'll never have a chance to tell you this because I don't get to see you that much because I'm with Green Bay and you're with another team, but I just want you to know, you give me 11 Tommy McDonalds, and I'll have a heck of a football team on the field. And I'll never forget that in my entire life. In fact, Herb Adderley said, I wished I had a microphone because I have never heard him say anything like that to anybody.
Through 12 seasons with 5 different teams, Tommy McDonald was a 5'9", 168-pound dynamo who never outgrew the excitement of scoring a touchdown.
Most of my stuff was long balls, you know. So when I turned around, everybody was so far back up the field and everything, and I'm ready to start doing it, high fives and everything all of a sudden. Nobody's there to do it, So I started taking back after him, and usually the one I wanted to seek out was the quarterback, and I found Munson this one time. I hit Munson too hard, and we both wound up on the grass and everything, and he got up, and the sports writers asked him about it after the game, and he said, I think that's the hardest I was hit all day or whatever.
The legendary Tommy McDonald, still a free spirit, although today he does wear a face mask.
We always like to say, Irv, that those great characters sometimes mellow out. I don't think he has it all.
Tommy has always been and always will be a free spirit. Great guy, though.
He was wearing those gold chains before it was fashionable. And now, let's send you back to the game that you're enjoying here on CBS.
Thank you very much, Brent. The rain continues to fall here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. We're at halftime, 14-6 our score, with St. Louis leading the Falcons. I'm Frank Glieber, along with Mean Joe Greene. This started out with both teams really in the move in the football, and then it kind of fell apart, degenerated a little bit. A lot of penalties.
A lot of penalties, and I think that's been the big problem with Atlanta. They've had penalties and the turnovers.
I noticed we got you to take your coat off for the halftime. You didn't get too cold there, big fella, did you?
I certainly hope not.
We got to take care of the rookie up here. He got cold. It was his first cool game. After all, the temperature's only 58, 59 degrees here in Atlanta, and the rain is falling. I know you're not used to that.
Well, I'm not used to that being up here. Being there and there, I'm very much at home.
Let's talk a little bit about the Cardinals' defense, because twice and really 3 times when you figure just before the half, when Junior recovered that fumble, the Falcons were driving and the Cardinals gave up a lot of yardage. But when they got close, I mean, the Cardinals got with it.
I think that's the key to the game right now, is that the Cardinals were able to stop the Falcons when they got in scoring territory. Twice they made them kick a field goal, and one time they recovered the fumble.
And the Cardinals, of course, first 2 times they had the football, moved crisply down the field. They scored the touchdowns. The Atlanta Falcons got the field goals, and that's been the difference so far. St. Louis leads it 14-6, and we'll be back with the second half action from Atlanta in just a moment. Welcome back to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. The Cardinals and the Falcons back in the field. We're at halftime with the score 14-6. And as you take a look at the first half statistics, you might keep in mind the Cardinals haven't been throwing the football at all to speak of. Lomax just 5 passes in the first half, completed 2 for a total of 42 yards. So the statistics are fairly even. Anderson has had a good first half running the football. Now here's the comparison between the 2 outstanding running backs, both drafted in 1979. Otis Anderson was the 8th player picked, and of course Andrews was a steal in the 3rd round for the Atlanta Falcons, and thus far OJ's had the best of it and looks like he's heading for his first 100-yard day, Joe. Couple of touchdowns to show you here. The St. Louis Cardinals offensively, Neil Lomax at the throttle.
Right here, you're going to see Rain Morris just runs over the safety, Pridemore, for the touchdown, for the first touchdown of the ball game.
And here's the Cardinals' 2nd touchdown after a very impressive drive, as well as they give it to OJ.
And again, Wayne Morris plays a vital role in here in creating a path for OJ Anderson to run in for the touchdown. OJ, as we stated a few minutes ago, is off to having his best day of the season.
The Atlanta Falcons have been somewhat of an enigma this season. We saw them in New York against the Giants on opening day. They were flat, but somehow they pulled out the victory. Their second game, they were miserable. They were bombed by the Los Angeles Raiders. Then they came out and looked absolutely brilliant after getting behind last week against the Rams. So no one knew exactly which Atlanta Falcon team was going to show up today. The scoreboard reads 14-6, but again, keep in mind that they were down 14-0 against the Rams and came roaring back. Atlanta will kick off. Mick Luckhurst. Rain has been falling steadily since well before the game started and is expected to continue to fall throughout most of the day. We'll have the official count for you on the nose show sometime here in the 3rd quarter. Stump Mitchell at the 11, 15-20. The stumper out across the 25 to the 28-yard line. Stump Mitchell from St. Mary's, Georgia, played his college football at the Citadel and was a great find for the Cardinals.
You know, when we asked Coach Bennett what was one of his big problems this week, and he said that was getting his team prepared for the Cardinals after coming off of a big victory against the Rams. That is a characteristic of a young ball club, that inconsistency. It also gives coaches those ulcers.
Something else you might be cognizant of, but we haven't seen Mel Gray in this football game. No, we have right now. As a matter of fact, he's in there. He has yet to catch a pass today and has a string of 120 going. Make that 121 as he makes that grab right off the bat. So his string is now at 121 games in which he has caught at least 1 pass. He is only a half dozen behind the all-time record of 127, which was set by Harold Carmichael of the Philadelphia Eagles. So he comes in at the start of the second half. We talked to Jim Hannafin yesterday, and he said that kind of bothers him a little bit because he has it in the back of his mind. He wants Mel to have that very much, yet he wants to do it under the natural influence of the ball game.
Right. He doesn't want to go into the game thinking that he has to try to keep this streak alive.
Nothing wrong with that play. Pickup of almost 5 yards on the play. Wayne Morris, who has carried the ball sparingly across the 35 to the 36-yard line. He had only 3 carries in the first half for a total of 12 yards.
The At this point, St. Louis has done a pretty good job of controlling the ball. That's something that Coach Bennett said that he wanted to do, is have a ball control type offense.
It'll be 3rd down, and the Cardinals need 3 for the first down with the ball at their 35-yard line. St. Louis leading 14-6. Greene is flanked to the left side, and as Lomax begins to see that 30-second clock run out on him, he calls time to avoid the penalty. Now the Cardinals signal in plays from the bench. It's Jim Hanifin there in the white shirt in the center of that particular gathering. And of course, Hanifin has been doing that for years, back even with the San Diego Chargers. Timeout here in Atlanta. A lot of empty chairs here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, representing a lot of no-shows under absolutely miserable weather conditions as the rain continues to pelt down. And as we go back to play, the Cardinals with that 3rd and 3 coming up at their 35-yard line on their first possession of the second half. Tilley to the left side. Roy Greene to the right. And Lomax gives it to Wayne Morris, who is stopped at the line of scrimmage. Strong defense by the Atlanta Falcons, which will force the Cardinals to punt. Al Richardson, number 56, the left side outside linebacker, making the stop. Former Georgia Tech star in his 3rd year. And Billy White Shoes Johnson dropping back, and he has been unstoppable on punt return so far. Birdsong gets it away. Nice kick. White Shoes at the 20. 25. There he goes again. 30, 40. The punter, Birdsong, made the stop at the 45 of the Cardinals.
Billy White Shoes Johnson. Any good punt return man can make the first one miss. At 31 years old, he's still doing a great job of running back these punts.
Well, the man they call White Shoes has put the Falcons in good position again. He took that one back 27 yards to the 44-yard line of the St. Louis Cardinals in Atlanta on its first offensive possession of the second half with great field position. Bartkowski airs it out. Going for Jenkins. Jenkins at the 5 is interfered with by Carl Allen, number 27. Official had a little tough time pulling the handkerchief out of his pocket, but you could see him going for it almost immediately.
Number 27, first down.
And that will give the Falcons a first down at the 4-yard line.
Well, you knew this was going to happen sometime today. Here they call the penalty because he was playing the man and not playing the ball.
Pat Haggerty, the referee, making the call, and the Falcons are charging back here at the start of the second half. That's a 40-yard penalty. Kane and Andrews are the setbacks behind Bartkowski. Kane to about the 2-yard line. By the way, we're checking the stats on Billy White Shoes Johnson, which we'll give you in a moment. But first of all, watch his tackle here.
Watch number 31 Andrews make a crushing block on the linebacker here. Right here at the corner. Just bends him over. There he is. Not only can he block it, he can run the football too.
Second and goal to go from the 2-yard line. Bartkowski with a nice fake. Touchdown. Deep in the corner, Bo Robinson, number 33. A running back who normally comes in at short yardage situations, sometimes lines up as a wingback or a tight end. There was a marker down on the play, but it looks like it's going to be against St. Louis.
Down is good, first
kickoff.
It was not a good series for Carl Allen. He got the interference call, and now he gets the personal foul, which will be tacked on the kickoff. So the Falcons have their first touchdown of the afternoon.
Play action pass here. Bartkowski trying to find an open man. He's going to find Bo Robinson right there in the back of the end zone.
That was
33.
Curtis Greer, number 75, who blew through there, and I think he got a piece of the football. He actually got his fingertips on the ball, but didn't deflect it that much. Rutgers with the extra point, and the boos have turned to cheers. See if you can see the tip here by Greer, number 75, rushing in for the St. Louis Cardinals.
He's going to be coming up the center of the screen on a game, coming around. He's getting his hands up. Watch here, see if he can tip, if he's going to tip the ball right there. I don't know. I can't tell from that.
It didn't lose much. No question about that. Robinson with the touchdown, and the Falcons are right back in this football game. That, of course, is one of the biggies in college football. Army and Navy, they've met 82 times. Navy holds a one-game lead, and you can see meeting number 83 next Saturday on CBS Sports. Luckhurst ready to kick off. Randy Love is deep, so is Steph Mitchell. And Mitchell will watch this one sail out of the end zone, as Luckhurst really got his leg into it. Cardinals will take over at their 20-yard line. Of course, the big play on that scoring drive, as the tempers begin to flare a little bit down in the field, was the 40-yard pass interference penalty against Carl Allen. The drive, 43 yards, and was set up, keep in mind, on a 27-yard punt return by Billy Whiteshoes Johnson. Johnson has now returned 3 punts for 61 yards, or rather for 65 yards. He's averaged 21.6 per punt return, and he had a 71-yarder for a touchdown call back because of penalty. He came into the game as the leading punt returner in the NFC, averaging 15.2 yards per return.
Very dangerous man on the football field.
Lomax handing off to O.J. Anderson. Anderson with a hole over the right side. Breaks through for a first down and then some, as he carries the ball out beyond the 35 to the 37-yard line. Don Smith, 65, making the stop.
Again, we're going to see Wayne Morris playing a very important role here in springing Anderson. Anderson does a good job right now of cutting behind the block of Steve, number 68, a good block right there, and then he carries a couple of tackles with him, a whole host of tackles with him.
16 yards on the carry, and that quiets the crowd down a little bit. This crowd's been interesting. What they lack in numbers, they make up for in volume. And they have booed loudly for the Falcons, and they have cheered loudly. It'll hit screen out to Pat Tilley. And the veteran Cardinal wide receiver is corralled after picking up just a yard or two on the far side, directly in front of the St. Louis bench by Bobby Butler, number 23, who has held Tilley pretty well in check. Pat, a Pro Bowler, coming off a 1,000-yard year. And O.J. Anderson, who at one point was up to 86 yards. In fact, was up to 90 yards. And now is back at 86. We'll get it right. Lomax, they give it to Anderson. O.J.'s determined to get that 100-yard day today, and I think he's going to get it before too long.
I talked with him in the locker room before the game, and he said today could be the day, and it appears that it's happening for him.
That'll be close to the first down yardage required, and we'll need a measurement to determine if the Cardinals did indeed pick up the first. 11 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in the third period. St. Louis ahead by 1 point, 14-13. First down, Cardinals continue to move the football well. Next Sunday on CBS, an NFL doubleheader. All gets underway with the NFL today. Several interesting matchups early, and then depending on where you happen to be, of course, you Falcon fans are going to see the Falcons game at Denver. And most of the fans around the country will see Dallas and Washington. First and 10. St. Louis Cardinals at their own 45-yard line. Wayne Morris slipping a tackle at the line of scrimmage, carries up to the 48. Joel Williams, number 58, making the stop. Eamon Bennett said yesterday that Joel wasn't quite back all the way. You know, he had that knee problem last year. He said he's still a little bit tentative. The year before he had 16 sacks. You can't hardly beat that.
That's expected when a guy is coming off of a knee injury. And he said he was slowly gaining his confidence back.
Lomax 4 out of 7 for 49 yards as the Cardinals have gone to the pass very sparingly so far. 2nd and 7. Lomax rolling right. Anderson finally caught it, hung on, and slipped and went down at the 44-yard line of Atlanta. That's going to be close to another first down. Al Richardson there to make the stop.
Most of the offense has been coming from Anderson today in some form or fashion via the run or the pass. We will see Lomax just drifting out in the flats here, and there the ball has just popped up. And Anderson had to grab onto it in order to make the pass complete.
It's Anderson's first pass reception of the day, and another first down for the St. Louis Cardinals at the 44-yard line of Atlanta. Anderson again getting a pretty good block from Wayne Morris, but not much yardage there. He got a yard, maybe 2. And Fulton Kuykendall, number 54, the guy they used to call Captain Crazy when he headed the specialty teams in Atlanta because of the reckless way that he plays this game, made the stop.
And I guess he said that's enough of that play. They've run that play several times for pretty good yard, and he said no more of that, not today.
Lomax was a steal for the Cardinals as a number 2 draft pick last year. Some people were a little bit wary of him because he played on a small college football team at Portland State. But he set every conceivable record you could set in college. There's Lomax styling the tight end Doug Marsh, and Marsh another first down inside the 35 down to the 32-yard line. The most impressive record I think that Lomax holds is the one he set against Delaware. I think it was his senior year. He threw 7 touchdown passes in 1 quarter.
In 1 quarter? He wasn't playing North Texas.
No, that was Delaware. That's pretty strong, isn't it?
Oh, that's very strong.
I think he wound up with 10 or something for the day. He kind of eased off after the first quarter.
Maybe he had a sore arm at halftime.
1st and 10, Cardinals driving from the 31-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons. Time-consuming drive here as Anderson carries to the 26 before running into Don Smith. Cardinals try to turn this thing around after that last score by Atlanta. It seemed like the momentum seemed to switch over to the Falcons a little bit. If they can push it across here, they may be in fairly decent shape.
Yes, they will. And this is taking on the shape of a long drive here. And if they can push across the score right now, I'm sure that it will stem some of that enthusiasm that Atlanta's appeared that they were trying to muster.
And as you saw by the graphic, O.J. Anderson is now over 100 yards rushing for the first time this season. At 101, 2nd and 6 from the 27. Stump Mitchell replacing Anderson, really upended. Down at the 20-yard line, Bobby Butler, number 23, with the tackle. And Stump a little more fired up than usual, playing before the home folks.
Stump Mitchell playing before the home people here. All he's doing is running here. He gets out in front of his blocking. Butler makes a very good hit on him. I saw Butler yesterday in the locker room, and Butler is no bigger than my son, who's 14 years old.
I imagine your son's going to be a little bigger, though, by the time he grows up. Mitchell last year against Atlanta had 279 yards total offense. The kick returns and in rushing. Another first down. Mitchell gets the call again, running hard over the right side. And is dropped in the area of the 15-yard line. It's close to a 5-yard pickup. They don't lose too much, do they, when he comes in there?
No, they don't. But they have a fresh body in there, and that's very important on a day like today when the field is a little bit soft, and particularly when you have a guy like Anderson that's been his numbers being called a great deal today.
Pick up a 5 on the play. It is 2nd down 5 for the Cardinals at the 15-yard line of the Atlanta Falcons. St. Louis trailing by 1 midway in the 3rd quarter.
And they couldn't be running that same play again.
There's Mitchell. Ball pops loose. Lomax trying to get to it. And a whole bunch of red shirts in there with Lomax. Let's see who came up with it. That thing shot out of there, out of Mitchell's arms, like somebody shot it out of a cannon. It was Lomax who won that struggle with 4 or 5 of the red-shirted Atlanta Falcons and came up with the fumble.
I think you got to give some respect to the defense. You can't keep running the same play over and over and expect to be successful at it. Right here, Jeff Yates comes in and makes a strong hit and knocks the ball loose. Lomax alertly falls on the football.
The loss on the play takes it back to the 26-yard line. It is now 3rd down and 15 needed for the 1st down.
They should play for the field goal, getting field goal range. Don't go all the way in the end zone. Play for the field goal.
Out of the shotgun. Lomax throws it down to the 5. It's almost intercepted. Intended for Stump Mitchell with Butler defending. O'Donohue, the field goal kicker, comes on. This is going to be a pretty good shot for him. He's 2 out of 5 on the year with his long field goal attempt or completion this year, 32.
I think he might have needed maybe another 7 or 8 yards.
It's going to be a pretty good pop here with the wind and the rain
and the field conditions.
Right. This would be a 43-yard effort. Trying to give the Cardinals the lead. Line drive kick. It's far enough. It is good. And O'Donohue lines it through from 43 yards out by 11 yards. His longest field goal attempt. And successful one of the year. And St. Louis regains the lead at 17-13. Greer. Here's the field goal attempt, and you will see a tip up the middle.
Jeff Merrill gets his hands on it, but it did not change the trajectory of the football.
17-13. The St. Louis Cardinals. And O'Donohue ready to kick off. Reggie Brown is deep for the Atlanta Falcons from the goal line. Out to the 10. 15. And slides across the 20-yard line out to the 23. And we get a flag thrown on what will probably be a late hit. I don't think they're thinking about strike now, are they?
Striking blows.
That's about it. The second little altercation we've had. Watch the late hit here.
Right here. And the reason they called it because he put his head into him. If he was just raised up and if it showed that he was trying to hold up, they wouldn't have called that penalty. That's the lack of thinking.
That's on Dave Steve, who is formerly a wide receiver, now a defensive back. So that's a 15-yard advantage. Atlanta should move it out to the 35.
Personal foul, number 21. St. Louis.
All right, so the burden now falls on the Atlanta Falcons offense to keep up with that Cardinals scoring drive, which consumed 6 minutes and 42 seconds. We've had several long drives in this game. Riggs is back in the lineup. The handoff to Andrews. Got a couple of yards over the left side, and that was it.
And that was it. That was a pretty good hit over there.
Andrews had 115 yards rushing in the only other game against St. Louis in 1980. Penalties on both sides. That's 75 yards against the Cardinals. 40 of that, of course, was on one play, the pass interference call, which set up the Atlanta touchdown early in the second half. 2nd and 9.
Split backs, a screen or a pass.
Pass it is. Intended for Jenkins over on the far sideline. As Bartkowski was decked. Pretty good rush that time by Mike Dawson. Number 73. And also Greer, who's an excellent pass rusher. Minnesota in front of the Bears at halftime by a score of 14-7. Both teams need that one bad. Cincinnati continues to lead the Los Angeles Raiders in the third period of play. And the Eagles have finally scored on Washington, but still behind 10-7. Baltimore hasn't scored in 2 weeks. I don't know what Cush is going to do him after this game. They don't get some points on the board. 3rd and 9. Barkowski. Jenkins had not made his turn. Now there's something that might go back a little bit to the strike business and the inactivity and the timing.
He was under heavy pressure there, and Steve had to get rid of the ball before he wanted to. He did not hook up with his receiver at that point. Could be the strike.
Dave Smigelski in to do the punting. Is one punt. A fine 52-yarder. And Stump Mitchell back deep for the St. Louis Cardinals. Mitchell will not fair catch. That's not in his vocabulary. Tripped up at the 28-yard line by Blaine Gason of the Atlanta Falcons. So the Cardinals will put it in play with 4 minutes and 51 seconds left to play in the third quarter. Jim Hannafin, the Cardinal head coach, on the left there. Now he'll call the plays, and the man on the right, Dick Jamieson, the offensive backfield coach, will signal them in. And Hannafin was telling us yesterday, it was kind of funny. He said they've been doing that for 3 years at San Diego when he was on that staff, and all of a sudden the Eagles got a lot of publicity for wig-wagging the plays in. And they more or less got credit for doing it for the first time. And he said, we've been doing it at San Diego for 3 years, and nobody ever noticed it because we did it so subtly. 1st and 10. Cardinals with the football at their 28-yard line. Anderson back in the game, slips a tackle, and drags a couple of tacklers out to the 31-yard line for a pickup of 2. Kuykendall finally made the stop, number 54. Another thing that Hannafin told us as Anderson gets up a little slowly here. Hannafin said once upon a time he thought that George Allen, when he was coaching the Redskins, was stealing his signals, because he noticed every time a play was made, a couple of defensive back would look over at Hannafin. And so he thought sure that George was stealing the signal. So he gave him a bunch of signals one time, looked over at the defensive back, and he gave him what could only be described as half the victory sign. And at that point they knew that they weren't buying it. Lomax down the sidelines. That's a fine run, almost to the 50-yard line.
He showed a great deal of composure then running the football. He was looking for someone to throw the ball to, and it wasn't open, so he decided he'll run for the first down, and nobody wanted to tackle him, so I'll go a little further. That's exactly what he did.
You saw the graphic on the no-shows. Last week they had 20,000, which led the league. They have topped that this week. 26,992 people bought tickets for this game and did not show up. And the in-stadium attendance, 33,411. It's a little over half capacity. 19-yard scramble by Lomax. And a first down for the Cardinals at midfield. Wayne Morris over the right side to the 45-yard line. Tom Pridemore, number 27, making the stop.
Little Wayne Morris.
South Oak Cliff High School, Dallas, Texas, your hometown.
First met Wayne when he was in high school.
You tried to recruit him, didn't you?
Yes, I did, to go to North Texas, and he ended up going some school in Dallas.
Yes, SMU, as a matter of fact. Did very well for himself, set the school rushing record. Went on to the Cardinals, was not a high draft pick, but has been a steady, reliable player. And one thing that Wayne Morris will never do, which a coach loves, is he doesn't fumble the football. 2nd down, 6. Lomax trying to lob it out. We get a penalty marker down as the pass is completed to Roy Greene at the 23-yard line, where he goes out of bounds, but a marker was thrown at the line of scrimmage.
Roy Greene, very fine concentration on the football. It'll all be brought back.
It's against the Cardinals, so wipe out the gain. Lomax looked over. He saw Butler lined up tight with Roy Greene. And the little takeoff play.
We have holding, number 67, offense.
Somebody tell Pat Haggerty which side is the press box side. Take a look at the tight lineup here. Do you see how tight Butler's playing him?
Well, they like to play that on third down. And right here, Roy Greene, you see he never takes his eye off the football. Very good concentration.
All for naught, though. The penalty moves it back to the 45-yard line. 3 minutes, 8 seconds left in the third period. Lomax punts it once. Safety valve to Mitchell to the 50. And down to the Atlanta Falcon 47-yard line. Al Richardson, number 56, making the stop.
He started looking for him. Then he saw no one downfield was open, and he felt that pressure coming. He said, let me get rid of this ball. Where is Stump? He found him over there in the flats.
We mentioned that O.J. Anderson is over 100 yards. He now has 103 yards rushing. There's Jim Hanifin in the mud. This will be O.J.'s first 100-yard effort this year and the 20th of his career. Third down. Cardinals trying to keep the drive going. They need 8 for the first down. The ball is at the Atlanta 47-yard line. And the fans turning up the volume on the noise. Lomax. Still loose. Running for the first down. And slides in with the first at the 40-yard line. It's going to be close, however. He may have started his slide a little bit early. It's that close. Pat Haggerty takes a look at the change here.
I don't think he likes the spot.
No. Haggerty is indicating it's going to be about a foot or so. Fourth down and a yard or so needed. Now there's a great example of Lomax mobility.
Well, as a defensive lineman, you don't like to play near while Neal is running. Here's a wide receiver that's wide open, but that's something that happens when you're running for your life. You don't have time to find the open man.
Mel Gray was downfield waving for the football, but they couldn't get it to him. Cardinals are going to go for it. And now it gets a little bit too noisy. And Lomax is going to call time.
It becomes very frustrating as a defensive line when you're rushing the quarterback and you have him kind of bottled up. You think then he breaks the pocket and runs for a first down or very close to a first down.
I want to remind you another big evening on CBS tonight. All gets underway with the award-winning 60 Minutes, followed by Archie Bunker's Place, Gloria, the Jeffersons, One Day at a Time, and Trapper John M.D. Always a big night. It's a good, great show, isn't it?
Yeah, I like to watch it.
So Lomax over to talk to Jim Hanifin, his head coach. We'll update some scores for you. The Jets have pulled it within one of the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota out in front of Chicago. That game is now in the third period of play. And Lomax, having conferred, heads back into the huddle. Big play here. Fourth down. A foot needed for the first down.
When did he go over and talk to Jim Hart? Jim Hart has been very instrumental in his development at this point in time in his career.
I think Jim realizes his role on this team is more or less now as a relief pitcher. He's in his 17th year, and he's helped Lomax a great deal this year. 4th and 1. They got it. A lot of credit to the offensive line of the St. Louis Cardinals as they just blew the Falcons away and opened the door for Morris to pick up the first down at the 38.
And they run over the big guy right here, Dan Dierdorf, right through him, paving the way for Wayne Morris to drive for the first down. Look at the power in his legs there. Has the second strongest legs on the team.
Who's first?
The man that was blocking for him, Dan Dierdorf.
First down, Cardinals at the Falcon 38. Anderson back in the game. Takes it down to the 34-yard line before running into Joel Williams, number 58. Cardinals are eating up a lot of time on that clock, as they did in their last drive. Very impressive drive. Last one, of course, was halted with the fumble and all. But they did get the field goal out of it from O'Donohue to take the lead.
And they're winning on first down. Now they have a 2nd and 5, which they're dictating to the defense how this game is going to go. And as long as they can continue to do that, they'll put some points on the board.
On 2nd and 5. Cardinals staying on the ground. Fulton Kuykendall, number 54. Don Smith, number 65, the middle guard, putting the hit on Wayne Morris. William Andrews has not had a big game so far for the Atlanta Falcons. His production way off from last week. He's averaged only 2.5 yards per carry. Anderson over the 100-yard mark. Interesting, Anderson coming into this game was averaging only 2.9 per carry. 3rd down. And call it 4. Long 4, maybe a short 5.
They just changed some defensive people. They brought in some extra defensive backs and some fresh defensive linemen there. Because of this long drive, they're trying to get some fresh blood in there.
Obviously, they did not get the play away before the end of the period. So that is the end of the 3rd quarter of play with the score. St. Louis 17, Atlanta 13. And from the rainy Atlantic Fulton County Stadium, we now pause for a word from your local station. Frank Glieber with Joe Greene at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as the final period gets underway, and yet another big play in this drive for the St. Louis Cardinals. They have a 3rd and 4, and look at the time of possession in quarter number 3. Atlanta ran 5 offensive plays, and the Cardinals ran 24 in the 3rd quarter. From the shotgun, Lomax wide open to Tilley. Tilley with the first down at the 20 and down to the 17-yard line. 1st and 10.
That was the Falcons' first blitz of the day. And the young quarterback picked it up. There's a little clear out around here. Tilley goes to the outside and avoids a tackler here and picks up additional yardage. Pat Tilley, who normally has a great game against the Falcons.
1st and 10. Cardinals at the 18-yard line. You can't do much with holding the ball 1:49 in 1 quarter as Atlanta did. They did get the touchdown early in the 2nd half there.
The name of the game is to score, and the offensive team is the one that is supposed to score. When your defense is out there, no scores.
St. Louis is going to call a time, and I think that's it for them. Lomax has used all of his timeouts. And we're less than a minute deep in the final period of play. And our apologies to those of you in St. Louis, as we've had some video problems during the 3rd period of play. Right now, we're just about a minute deep in the final period, and the Cardinals continue to lead the Falcons 17-13 after holding the ball virtually the entire 3rd quarter. As it turned out, they got just 1 field goal out of it, but that's enough to retain the lead right now. And the Cardinals are driving again with a 1st and 10 at the Atlanta Falcon 18-yard line. Lomax handing off to Anderson. O.J. is over 100 yards today. Got just 1 there, and that's it.
Evidently, the St. Louis Cardinals think that they can get outside on the Falcons. They've run this play several times from different formations. At this point in time, there's no success on this play. Jeff Yates makes the play along with Kuykendall.
Falcons, of course, scored in the 3rd quarter, got a big break on a 40-yard pass interference call against Carl Allen, and Bo Robinson took the touchdown pass from Bartkowski from some 5 yards out. That was their touchdown. And then O'Donohue answered with the 43-yard field goal. And the Cardinals on a very time-consuming drive here. Anderson going left this time, got another yard. And that was it. So it's going to be 3rd and 8. And tempers have flared several times in the 3rd quarter. And Pat Haggerty, the referee, trying to keep things under control. Rain has fallen since early this morning. It has not stopped. It is not a cold rain, however, the temperature being around 60 degrees or so. So it could be worse, in the field holding up remarkably well, which it should, since it hasn't been played on but one time in the last 9 weeks.
Well, you keep bringing that up, huh?
Yes, sir. 3rd down, 8 needed for the 1st down, and again the Falcons go with their prevent type defense. Extra defensive backs coming in there. They take out a couple of linemen and a couple of linebackers. Obviously feeling that Lomax is going to put it up.
They go to a 4-man front on passing situation, particularly when he goes through the shotgun.
Cardinals don't want to settle for a field goal here. That would put them just 7 in front. 3rd and 8 from the shotgun. Lomax taking the snap from Deerdorf, has Tilley down at the 5-yard line. No one's touched him yet. And Tilley crawls down to the 2. He took the pass, fell down, was not hit, and got up and almost crawled another 3 yards to the 2 from the end zone.
You're getting Neil Lomax's view right here. He has enough time to find Tilley over the middle, and no one's around him. No one's within 5 yards of him. It allows him to fall down, get up, and still make additional yardage. That is not good defense.
This drive started back at the 29-yard line. 1st and goal to go from the 2-yard line. Wayne Morris and O.J. Anderson, the setbacks behind Lomax. Morris driving for the end zone, stopped short at about the 1-yard line. St. Louis has beaten New Orleans. They have lost to Dallas and San Francisco.
Now the tails have turned. O.J. gets an opportunity to block for Wayne. O.J. is a little bit upset because he didn't get the block as clean as he would like to. O.J. said, I'm a runner, not a blocker.
2nd and goal. Again, Wayne Morris, and this time Morris is right down in there, but no indication given by the officials. It looks like the Cardinals are short by a margin of no more than a foot. And it'll be 3rd and goal from inside the 1-yard line.
Right here, you're going to see a good play by Pridemore right here. And Jackson, R.L. Jackson, way of Cleveland Browns.
Former #1 draft pick of the Browns. See if the Cardinals can shove it in here. 3rd down, goal to go. A foot away. Morris did not get in. Morris tried to go over the top. All right, Mr. Joe Greene, say you're Jim Hannafin now. Do you go for it or do you kick a field goal?
I think you got to go for it. Right here, we're going to see number 27, Jim Pridemore, catch Wayne Morris in there and make a very, very strong hit. That's a super hit right there. This is the kind of defense that can turn it around for you. This is a big play for the Atlanta Falcons.
And the Cardinals are not going for it. They have sent in the field goal unit. And this will be well, just about like an extra point for Neil O'Donoghue. It put him up 7 to put the Falcons in range of catching them. Atlanta had 12 men on the field. The extra man did not get off. He tried very hard, but he didn't get to the sidelines. And no indication given on the kick.
Illegal procedure. Defense. Kick is good.
So the penalty is declined, we would assume. At least that's what Pat Haggerty indicated. Some of the Cardinal players looking to the sideline. Shouldn't we take this penalty and maybe get a little bit closer and try to shove it in?
The theory
wait a minute. Hold everything. Here's Lomax coming back on the field. Let's see if they're going to take this penalty and move the ball inches closer to the goal and go for it on 4th down. Lomax has come back on the field. Now they're discussing it with the Cardinals. Dan Deerdorf, of course, number 72, is the veteran captain. And he'll get his advice. Now the ball was about on the maybe the 1-yard line, and they could move it back to about the 1-foot line because Morris really lost a little bit on the 3rd down play. Now do you take points off the scoreboard once they're up there? Let's see. Pat Haggerty will give us the indication, I'm sure.
That's why I was a player, not a coach.
Here it is.
Too many men on the field on the defense. 4th down.
4th down. The Cardinals have changed their minds, and they're going to go for it. They will not settle for the field goal.
They couldn't have gained more than 4 or 5 inches.
All right, 4th and goal to go from the 1-foot line. Lomax brings it up to the line of scrimmage. Morris and Anderson the setbacks. Quarterback sneak. He's over. Touchdown, St. Louis. Well, they say you don't take points off the scoreboard once they're up there, and O'Donoghue's 3 were up on the scoreboard. But the Falcons got into a situation where they had one too many players on the field.
But you go over the big guy, number 72, Dan Dierdorf. There's a wedge block right here, and it just clears him out just enough for the quarterback to go over the top.
So that makes it 23-13. It certainly changes the picture. And Jim Hannafin has to be a very happy man. He'd be the guy that got second guessed if they didn't make it, for sure. O'Donoghue on with the extra point try, which is no good. The scoreboard indicates the extra point try is no good, and that creates a new set of possibilities now, as the St. Louis lead is 10 points. Next Saturday, CBS Sports presents the Battle of the Wildcats. NCAA basketball, Villanova and Kentucky from Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, right after the Army-Navy game. Tip-off is 4 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports. O'Donoghue, who missed the extra point try, but I think he got a bad hold on it. Kicking off, Reggie Brown, 15, 20, 25. Out beyond the 30 to the 33-yard line. Now keep in mind the Falcons simply haven't had the ball on offense in the second half. Look at how long, how much time that scoring drive consumed. Almost 10 minutes on the clock. 71 yards. Started middle of the third quarter and extended into the final period, which now has 9 minutes and 45 seconds left to go.
Coaches just love those offensive long drives. It soons up a lot of time on the clock, and it keeps the ball away from the other team's offense.
I would think the Cardinal defense would be well rested at this point. And the same could probably be said for the Atlanta Falcon offense. Bartkowski is teamed down by 10 points. Almost caught behind the line of scrimmage. Gets the pass away to Riggs, but he is nailed right at the line by Jeff Griffin, the Cardinal defensive back. There was a penalty marker down in the play. Now keep in mind that O'Donoghue did miss the extra point, which kept the Cardinal lead at 10. Now he makes that extra point, and that means Falcons got to score 2 touchdowns to get back in this game. Right now a touchdown and a field goal get him a tie. Holding against Atlanta.
Well, from here on out, you're going to see a big rush being put on Bartkowski because of the length of time in the ball game and the number of points they're behind.
Holding call against the Atlanta Falcons will cost them 10 yards. Pat Haggerty will move the ball back to the 23-yard line and give us the alleged offender.
Holding offense. Number 70.
I think Pat's lost his sense of direction. Maybe the rain is getting to him. First half, he was looking at us every time.
This is a running formation, and you don't respect the run on a down like this. So they're going to fake it, play action. Yep.
First and 20. Riggs getting close to the 30, 35, 40. Riggs, he can move. Allen nails him from behind, but not before he reaches the 40-yard line of the St. Louis Cardinals.
As I was trying to get into this is a running play, a running formation. They were 20 yards behind, but you see here the Cardinals was rushing and opened up a lane for Gerald Riggs to get in the open. Then he turns on the speed.
Riggs has tremendous explosive speed. Laban Bennett told us yesterday, for the first 20 yards, he is the fastest man on the Atlanta Falcon football team. First and 10, Falcons at the St. Louis Cardinals 40-yard line. Bartkowski with a fake into the middle to Riggs. Over the middle he goes to Andrews. Makes the catch at the 35 and forward to the 32-yard line. Pick up of some 9 yards on that play. Dave Aarons, number 58, on the hit along with Lee Nelson.
Well, the Falcons have shown that they have the ability to come back. They've been doing it so many times in their past.
St. Louis leads this series 5-3. Atlanta won back in '66. Then St. Louis won the next 5, and then Atlanta lost the next 2. Atlanta, I should say, won the last 2. And movement by the Cardinals defensive line. Barkowski looks like he may have pulled somebody offside. Rush Brown, number 69, the defensive right tackle move. And it'll be 5 yards against the Cardinals on the offside call.
Defense.
There you go, Pat. Somebody turned him around in the right direction that time. So that, coupled with the gain on the previous play, gives the Falcons another first down. This one at the 27-yard line. Barkowski 11 out of 18, but for only 96 yards. Pitch to Riggs, looking for a hole up the middle. Drives forward inside the 20 to the 19-yard line. Keep in mind the Falcons need 2 scores to get back in this game, and the clock becomes a factor.
Very strong running on the part of Riggs. Every good running back needs someone to block for him. Right here you'll see Andrews, number 31, make a good block, and Gerald Riggs cuts behind the block. Good yardage.
Second down, 2 needed for the first down at the Cardinal 19-yard line. 8 minutes, 10 seconds left to play in the game. Riggs picks up the first, very close to it as he reaches the 17-yard line. That could be close enough for measurement. Other scores around the league: Minnesota leading the Chicago Bears 21-7, and the Jets have pulled in front of the Green Bay Packers in the fourth quarter. Green Bay coming into the game as one of 2 unbeaten teams in the NFC. Baltimore still trying to score. New England over Houston, and Cincinnati putting it on the Raiders. You realize that Baltimore hasn't scored since September?
Frankie's not going to like that.
Third down, less than a yard for the first down, and Riggs goes over the top to pick up the first down at the 15-yard line. Falcons need 2 scores to get back in this game. A touchdown and a field goal would tie it as they trail 23-13.
Gerald Riggs over the top, 235 pounds, airborne.
What do your coaches tell you how to defend against that type of play where you pretty well know they're going to come up over the top?
Well, in a short yardage situation, the down linemen should go low, submarine, and the linebackers and safeties should come over the top.
First and 10, Falcons at the 15-yard line. Riggs has been the bread and butter man on this drive, but he got just a yard on that play. Lee Nelson coming up to make the stop. Number 38. Again, the clock continues to move. 6 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. And Riggs with his best day as a pro, 72 yards rushing, 37 of which came on 1 charge. Second down, 9. Nose of the football just inside the Cardinal 15. Falcons need a touchdown, preferably quick.
This is when they like to go to number 84, Jenkins, across the middle.
Barkowski. He's got a man open deep, and that is Alfred Jackson. The Falcon fans hoisting their umbrellas in celebration.
Barkowski getting time to throw the ball. He's going to hit Alfred Jackson in the corner of the end zone, who came from the slot position. Number 85, Alfred Jackson, all alone.
Obvious mix-up in coverage there, as no one was near Jackson, who has been a big play man ever since he's been with the Falcons. 15 yards on the touchdown pass. This extra point try is important here because it would put the Falcons within field goal range. Lucker's kick is good. So we've got a 23-20 football game with 5 minutes and 55 seconds left to play in the game. Keep in mind the Cardinals are out of timeouts. The Falcons have all 3 of theirs left. Another exciting NFL doubleheader coming up next Sunday afternoon. Starts off with the NFL today. And Dallas, Washington will be the big one. And the Redskins right now are on their way to their 4th straight victory of the season. Of course, you Atlanta fans will have a chance to watch the Falcons play the Denver Broncos. Luckers kicking off. St. Louis leading by 3. Snub Mitchell from a yard deep in the end zone. Out to the 15, to the 20. And we get penalty markers thrown all over the place. I think every official on the field threw his marker. I think whatever it was obvious.
It was obvious. It was clipping. I saw it from up here. It was very, very, very poor play.
Blocking above the waist is the actual call, not clipping. It goes against St. Louis. Fans are roused up here, some 33,000.
Pushing it back, number 50, first down.
It looked to be against Greg Pookie, number 50 of the St. Louis Cardinals on the run back.
On the right-hand side, we'll see number 50 come into your screen. A very obvious blocking it behind. Very obvious play.
And the Cardinals with extremely poor field position as a result, backed up to their 9-yard line. Lomax pitching to Anderson, and Anderson gets him out of a big hole. Great run under pressure by O.J. Anderson. As they were backed up to the 9, he took it out to the 21, and that is a first down.
Tremendous running on the behalf of Anderson here. Number 32. He's going to get another good block at the point of attack from Wayne Morris. Then he just explodes through tacklers and gains the first down. O.J. Anderson.
Anderson at this point has 121 yards rushing in 18 carries in his biggest afternoon of the season. 1st and 10 Cardinals. The Falcons have had the ball less than 6 minutes in the entire second half of this game. Yet they're only 3 points behind. Big hole up the middle.
If there ever was a time when they wanted to play defense, it's now. And they've given up 18 yards on the ground in 2 plays.
Wayne Morris up the middle that time, picking up 8 yards. It'll be 2nd and 2. And as we said, the clock's certainly a factor, as St. Louis, which has shown throughout this ball game that it can keep the ball and eat up big chunks of that clock, is intent on doing the same thing here and running this football out right from underneath the Atlanta Falcons. Cardinals, of course, would even their season record at 2-2, which would really put them in fairly decent shape. Anderson looks like he's got another first down. He needed just a pair. That's about what he got. Fulton Kuykendall making the stop. Cardinals keep that clock moving down to the 4-minute mark and counting.
This one has become so important to play good defense.
Again, Anderson, at least today, has had it all over William Andrews.
Well, they've when you're trying to come from behind, it's very difficult to run the football. And in defense of Williams' play today, I would say it was that they were trying to come from behind.
And also, they haven't had the ball.
And they haven't had the ball.
A little hard to make big rushing yardage when your team is on defense most of the second half, which has been the case for the Falcons. Wayne Morris on a dive up the middle. Takes it out to the 35-yard line. Joel Williams on the stop.
And when you don't win on first down, that creates another set of circumstances. Now, they might have to pass the football because they want to keep the football on the ground, but they're in a passing situation now.
Lomax, 9 out of 13. That's the backside of Lehman Bennett, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. His team would also go to 2-2 with a loss here today. But under the new playoff structure, that's still very much in contention. Snub Mitchell around the left side. Stopped at the 40-yard line. Lomax very content to keep it on the ground.
I would say Hannafin is very content to keep it on the ground.
That's true. Since that's where the calls are coming from at the present time. Third down, and the Cardinals going to need 3 for the first down. And they'll go with a second tight end. They take out Morris. They also put in Mel Gray, who, in case you joined us late, has caught a pass to keep his string going. He's now at 121.
Again, the first down is more important than trying to go for the big one.
Could be the biggest play of the game for the Falcons if they don't stop him here. From the shotgun, Lomax completes it for a first down, I believe. Again, a very, very big play for the St. Louis Cardinals as Harrell, backup running back, on the receiving end of that pass. And we have the 2-minute warning. Cardinals in charge, leading by 3, and they have the football. Frank Glieber along with Joe Greene. 2 minutes left to play. Cardinals 1st and 10 at their 46. And you notice on that last pass completion for the first down, they went with the experience. Willard Harrell, the veteran running back in the backup role for St. Louis, took the pass, and it may have been the biggest one of the game because the Cardinals keep this drive going and have a first down. And the Falcons have not been able to stop them here in the second half. They did that time, though, didn't they?
And did they? There's a big hit over there on the right side of the Falcons' defensive line.
Now the Falcons have all 3 of their timeouts left and are using one right now. So they have 2 remaining. Cardinals out of timeouts. St. Louis 23, Atlanta 20, and we'll be back in just a moment. There's the statistical rundown of the football game so far as Jim Hannafin sends his field general Neil Lomax back to battle. 2 timeouts left for the Falcons. It'll be 2nd and 10 coming up for the Cardinals at their 46-yard line. And if the Cardinals pull this one out, you can certainly credit a lot of it to the fact that they have simply kept the ball away from the very explosive Atlanta offense for most of the second half. Anderson having trouble at the line of scrimmage, shakes a tackle, but is tripped up behind the line at the 44-yard line for a loss of 2 by Tom Pridemore, number 27, the free safety. And again, the Falcons will call time, which will leave them with 1 timeout left and 1:37 to go.
The Falcons, they were on all-out blitz that time. Tom Pridemore making the tackle.
And it paid off. We'll be back with the exciting finish from Atlanta in just a moment. The preceding message brought to you by the National Football League. Now there's the time of possession, but that covers the entire game. That does not tell you the story in the second half. St. Louis has just dominated. Jim Hannafin, the head coach of the Cardinals in his 3rd year and one of 3 head coaches in the NFC East who came directly off Don Coryell's staff at San Diego. The other 2 being Joe Gibbs of the Redskins and Ray Perkins of the Giants. 3rd down. Cardinals need 12 for the first down at their own 44. They're ahead by 3. The Falcons have 1 timeout left and 1:37 to go. Lomax trying to float it out for the first down. It doesn't go. Incomplete. Intended for Greene with the big defensive play made by Kenny Johnson, number 37. And so the Cardinals will have to give the football up with 1.5 minutes to go. But keep in mind now, Atlanta has only 1 timeout left. They need a field goal to tie and a touchdown to win.
And they got Billy White Shoes Johnson back to return the punt.
White Shoes has had a magnificent afternoon. Can he do it one more time and give them the field position they need for the field goal, which could send this into overtime? Birdsong hangs it up, but he's not going to give him a chance to run it back. And probably a very smart play.
An extremely smart play. Kick the ball away from Billy White Shoes.
Let's see where they mark it. It'll be somewhere around the 20-yard line. The officials mark it at the 22. So here's Atlanta now, this great Atlanta offense, number 2 in the National Football League in 1981 to San Diego. A 34-yard punt by Birdsong, but perfect placement as far as the Cardinals are concerned. Atlanta with 1 timeout left and 1:24 to work with.
The big red rush hasn't gotten to Steve today. But this is the time, if they ever wanted a sack, is the time that they need to get it.
And the Falcons come up to the line of scrimmage. 2-minute offense working. They've got Bo Robbins in there in a slot position, who is normally a running back, Robinson. And here's Bartkowski. Greene putting on the big rush. Gets the pass away, intended for Andrews. That is shoe tops, and Andrews couldn't field it.
Greene did get some good pressure then. He didn't get to him, but he forced him to throw the ball, I'm sure, before Steve wanted to.
Cardinals by 3, 23-20. That's the time remaining. 2nd and 10. Again, Atlanta has only one timeout left. Jackson to the left side. Bo Robinson in the slot. Jenkins split wide to the right side. Good protection for Bartkowski. Sideline throw. Incomplete. That'll set up 3rd down as he tried to go to the near sideline for Floyd Hodge, number 83. Second-year man from Utah. Ken Greene was back defending. Now he's got to start thinking about the 1st down.
That is important. If you run out of downs, you got to go to the sidelines.
There's the book on Bartkowski so far this afternoon. Cardinals next week are at Philadelphia. Atlanta plays at Denver. 3rd and 10. Again, good protection for Bartkowski. Sideline throw is complete this time for the 1st down. Jackson flagged it down at the 34-yard line, but did not get out of bounds. So the clock continues to roll. Three, 4 wide receivers out in this formation. They hit Riggs over the middle. He picked up just 5 and then lunged forward for another 3 or 4 yards to the 42-yard line. The clock down to 40 seconds and moving. One of the Cardinals was shaken up on the play. That's E.J. Jr., the 2nd-year linebacker. John O'Mahundro, the trainer for the St. Louis Cardinals, on out to take a look at him. I don't know why some of the fans start booing in this case. Actually, Junior being hurt works to the Falcons' advantage, and that it stops the clock with 35 seconds to go.
And it allows Steve to go over to the sideline and have a conference with his coach.
That was a 1st down play to Riggs, and he picked up, well, call it 7. It'll be 2nd down, a long 3 needed for the 1st down, with the Falcons owning the football at their 40-yard line. They trail by 3 points. And Bartkowski has taken the advantage of the timeout to go over and have a conference with Lehman Bennett as head coach. And he can kind of get this thing organized again, and I'm sure probably call 2 plays.
Yes, he did. I'm sure they want to save their timeout. And when they get it, if they do get in field goal range, to use that timeout then so they can get organized.
See, the Falcons are ready to go immediately. As soon as the official winds the clock, they'll be ready to snap the ball. 35 seconds left. Atlanta has 1 timeout, and the Junior hasn't reached the sideline yet. He's limping a bit, but going off under his own power. Here we go. Time is back in. The clock is moving. Bartkowski intended for Hodge, and Hodge drops it at the 45-yard line to the Cardinals. Oh, that could have been a big play.
Oh, Steve, I tell you, but he was wondering, what do I have to do? Because he had it right on the money there. And not only was he in good position to go out of bounds and stop the clock, but it was would have been a tremendous gainer for them.
3rd down and 3 needed for the 1st down. 26 seconds remaining. Again, the Falcons have 1 timeout left. They're down 23-20. We've seen them pull them out like this in the past. The memorable New Orleans situation several years ago where they went with the Big Ben play. Sideline throw to Andrews, 40, 45, 50, and out of bounds at the 45-yard line to the Cardinals with 18 seconds. One more pass play could get them within range for Luckhurst, whose longest field goal this year has been 49 yards.
3rd and 3, you need to get something that's kind of conservative, and that's going to get you the first down. Get the ball to your fullback out in the flats and let him run for the first down and get out of bounds.
Griffin finally making the tackle. Officials mark it at the 46 of St. Louis. First down. 18 seconds left. Barkowski again with great protection over the middle. Intended for Jenkins. Pass interference at the 25. Pass interference call against Carl Allen, who was victimized earlier.
Again, Carl Allen is going to get called for pass interference, playing the receiver instead of the ball. He gets there just before the ball goes. That's pass interference.
Time for at least one more play, and then the timeout, and then the field goal attempt. Right now, Luckhurst would be kicking from 42 yards out in an attempt to tie the game if they had to kick it from here. 1st and 10 from the Cardinal 25. Barkowski. He's going for all of it. Intended for Hodge in the end zone and overthrown. Barkowski making sure that if Floyd Hodge didn't come down with it, no one would. Here comes the field goal unit as the clock is run down to 6 seconds. Mick Luckhurst, who has kicked a couple this afternoon, who kicked a 49-yarder against the Rams last week, will be attempting this field goal from 42 yards out. Mike Borowski will hold. If he makes it, we go into overtime. If he misses it, the Cardinals win. No good. A 42-yard field goal attempt by Mick Luckhurst is wide to the right, and you can read it on his face. Watch Luckhurst.
He knew he had missed it the moment he hit it.
1 second remains.
Disappointed Falcons.
Well, these two teams went to overtime 2 years ago in St. Louis, and the Falcons pulled it out. So the Cardinals get a measure of revenge as Lomax simply kneels down with the snap. The game is over. And the St. Louis Cardinals have pulled even on the year with a record of 2 wins against 2 losses. And as exciting a finish as you could want. Jim Hannafin, Lehman Bennett, the center of the field. Well, it's quite a finish, Joe.
Yes, it was. And I think this is going to be a tremendous boost to a young team.
There's Hannafin congratulating Billy White Shoes Johnson, who put on a tremendous performance, returning kicks on the day.
Both of these clubs are 2-2 and still very much in the playoff picture.
Cardinals led at halftime by a score of 13-6. Then the Falcons went ahead early in the third period, 14-13. That's the last time they saw the lead, however, as the Cardinals came back with those ball-consuming, clock-consuming drives in the third and the fourth period. Post-game coverage coming up, so stay with us. Our final score here, 23-20. The Cardinals beat the Atlanta Falcons. We'll go to New York and Brent Musburger.
Welcome back to New York, and I sure thought that Frank was headed into overtime, but that field goal to Luckhurst just kind of hooked on off to the right side. Now, we still have a very special post-game show coming up for you on this Sunday afternoon. In the studio live, you'll be talking to the star linebacker of the New York Giants, Lawrence Taylor. He, of course, had today off, and why not? After that great Thanksgiving he turned on up in Detroit when he downed the Motor City Lions up there. We'll review that interception that he returned. Irv Cross is here with us. We've got all the scores and the highlights. And Irv, let me start off by giving the audience that just watched this thrilling game a quick scoring update so you know exactly where we are before you get some highlights and the rest of our activities here. Chicago and Minnesota. You remember before the game, Jimmy the Greek said that Tommy Kramer would play. Well, indeed he has. He's thrown 5 consecutive touchdown passes in that game, and the Bears now are being routed 35-7. Meanwhile, Cincinnati and the Raiders, and it looks like the Raiders are going to lose for the first time. They trail 31-17. Washington and Philadelphia, time running out now on the Eagles. The Redskins have the ball and the lead 13-9. Buffalo over Baltimore. This was our first final of the day, 20-0. The Bills shut out the Colts. And St. Louis and Atlanta, of course, the game you just watched, the Cardinals winning by 3, 23-20 is the final there. New England and Houston, and the Patriots behind their new quarterback, Steve Grogan. They are ahead of Houston and Archie Manning, 29-14, deep in the fourth quarter of that game. And finally, in a real battle in Shea Stadium, in the fourth quarter, the Jets holding on against the Packers, 15-13 is the count in that game. And our post-game show will continue on CBS in just a moment. We're still monitoring that game in Shea Stadium. About a minute and a half to go. The Packers trying to get on the scoreboard. They've missed 3 extra points in that game. A lot of kicking problems today.
All over the league. I've never seen so many extra points in easy field goals missed. I think that 8-week layoff certainly is taking its toll.
Certainly broke up the rhythm of many of the kickers around the league right now. And again, the Packers and the Jets are slugging it out. Green Bay off to its best start, of course, since the Lombardi salad days back in the mid-'60s. And right now, they've got possession of the ball. We should point out there was a moment in that game when the Jets had a 4th down inside the 5-yard line. Now, they did not settle for the field goal that would put them in command, at least as far as a field goal situation is concerned. And I guess, Irv, it's probably because of the problems you were telling me about.
No question about it. You know, watching that drive again, though, Brent, the New York Jet Packer game, the Packers had a 3rd and 16 at midfield and threw a pass, was incomplete. And it looks like the kicking team's coming out.
Exactly. So the Packers and the Jets are still going out. Wait a minute, what about the Philadelphia Eagles? I got to ask you about that team. Are they going to sink to 1-3 now here this afternoon?
Well, it looks like it. You know, the Redskins are playing real well. Of course, Theismann had a good day throwing the ball. But, you know, the Eagles' defense is the thing they're most proud of, and they haven't been able to stop people when they need it. I see the Packers still have the ball. They're going to try it on 4th down.
They are indeed. Coming up to the line of scrimmage at the 45-yard line as you see the situation with the Redskins and the Eagles right now in that particular game. And, of course, we have just wound up our contest down in Atlanta with the Cardinals and the Falcons in that game, and the Cardinals win it by 3 points.
And welcome back to Atlanta. Thank you very much, Brent Musburger. We have one of the heroes of the Cardinal victory down in the field, and that, of course, is Neil Lomax, the young Cardinal quarterback. Got a little muddy down there, but I guess it all paid off, Neil.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of old Portland State days, this rain, but it was sloppy out there. Ball was a little wet, but it was good to get this win.
I have one question I want to ask you particularly. When you're down at the goal line, he goes for the field goal, you get the penalty. Now, you're 3 feet away at that point. The penalty gives you a 1.5 feet. What made Hannafin change his mind, or did you change his mind?
Well, actually, I changed his mind. I saw the defense give us a little hole up front in front of Dan Deerdorf, our center. I told Dan, you just give me a hole, and he's a big guy. He gave me a good hole there, and I just dove over for the score. I knew I could do it, and we needed 6 better than those 3 points, that's for sure.
Well, we're showing it right now, and that turned out to be really the decisive point of the football game.
It really was, and we knew Steve Barkowski is very good at quarterback. He could move those Falcons in less than a minute. We needed to score 6 points instead of 3 to make sure to solidify our victory today.
Neil, coming to the ball game, did you think that you had a better opportunity to win this game running the ball as you did, or just throwing the ball? Or did those first 2 touchdowns
dictate the type of game plan that you were going to do?
Well, we came in, LC, looking to run. OJ was feeling good, and Wayne was blocking well, and the offensive line did a heck of a job getting the holes up front. And our game plan was to run, and this weather kind of dictated that, keeping the ball on the ground. But third and long, we're going to throw too, and that puts me into play.
You know, you guys held the ball for, I think, 13 minutes in the third quarter alone. And then, of course, that long drive went over into a good portion of the last period as well. Did a great ball control job.
Yeah, that's the thing against the Falcons. They're so explosive with the receivers they got. We knew as an offensive group we had to control the ball and, again, use OJ and Wayne Morris up front. And they did a heck of a job today, and you just can't complain. It's raining out here, and we felt we had to win this to get our playoff chances alive at least.
You got a very young ball club, Neil, and obviously it's growing up very fast.
Yeah, I know I'm growing every game. You know, I'm making a lot of lousy mistakes out there. This is only my second year, and the coaches have patience with me, and I got to be patient with my play. I can't come out here and just be a superstar overnight. I got to take my time and let the other 10 guys work their thing too.
Well, great performance. You threw the ball sparingly, but you got it when they needed it. 10 out of 15 for Neil Lomax at 109 yards. And, of course, a touchdown run as well. Congratulations,
Hey,
Neil.
thank you, Frank.
Absolutely a great effort in leading the Cardinals to a 23-20 victory here in the rain at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. We'll be back with more of our post-game show in O.J. Anderson in just a moment. Frank Glieber along with me, Joe Greene, back at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and the next gentleman in the limelight, O.J. Anderson, with his first 100-yard rushing day of the year. O.J. carried for 122 yards today and 20 carries, had a 20-yard touchdown run, and nice going, Juice.
Thank you very much. You know, this kind of stuff happen every week. If I can get some blocking from the line, we knew we had to win this game and to stay in the race, and the guys kind of got up for it and went out and did the job.
Do you feel the fans are getting on your case in St. Louis a little bit last week?
Sure, you know, they're going to constantly get on my case because they feel whenever I don't get 100 yards, we lose. So until I prove that it doesn't matter whether I get 100 or not, we can win without that, maybe they'll leave me alone.
Joe, what's it like to tackle this guy?
I can't catch him. OJ, you spoke of getting some outstanding blocking from your offensive line, but I noticed that you were getting some tremendous blocking from Wayne Morris. And I saw that you were trying to turn the tail on him when he was running the football.
Well, you know, to be a good running back, my coach definitely said you must be a good blocking back. And to block for Wayne is good. You know, it gives me an opportunity to show the people that I'm not just a running back, but I can also block.
We're going to show the folks that 20-yard touchdown run here. Would you mind commenting on us for us, Juice? What happened there?
Well, it was a draw, and everybody blocked their man. The wide receivers ran off the defensive backs, and I just had clear sand up the middle.
Now, you've got two rookie offensive tackles in front of you. Now, Jim Hannafin tells me that they're both going to be great football players, but they're doing a little learning, and I guess you got to be a little patient, don't you?
Exactly. I remember when I was a rookie, I was the same way. The guys were veteran ball players, and they hung in there with me, and I'm doing the same with the guys that we have now.
Your guys are 2-2. Now, that's the new setup. That's not in bad shape, is it?
Well, you know, it's a team with the win-loss record. That's what's going to take it. If we can win the rest of our games, I'm quite sure we'll be in the playoff, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
Well, how far do you think this game went today in developing of a young ball club? I see that your average age on that team is 24 years. You are a young ball club.
Well, Joe, it goes back when you guys were winners. You know, you started off the same way, about 4 or 5 years before you guys really developed and played together, and you won the Super Bowl those numbers of years. And it's the same way. Same way with us. It's just a matter of a time for everybody to get it down, understand each other, and just go and execute, and we can win.
So it's not unlike comparing this football team of the Cardinals with the Steelers when they first started building toward a winner, you think?
Exactly. That's exactly where we are now. We got a guy like Curtis Greer, who's just like a Joe Greene. We got Grooms on the other side, who's like L.C. Greene. We got everybody, the same position.
Okay, O.J., thanks. Great performance this afternoon, 122 yards rushing. And he mentioned a young man by the name of Curtis Greer, who is a great pass rushing defensive lineman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's standing by, and we'll talk to Curtis when our post-game show from Atlanta continues in just a moment. The most patient man in Atlanta right now has to be standing down there on the sideline because it has really started raining hard right now. And Curtis Greer, the fine defensive end of the Cardinals, is with us. One thing I want to ask you about, Curtis, they made a big deal last year that Mike Ken got his first holding penalty in 21 games when he played against you, and I noticed they nailed him twice in 2 plays, huh?
Yeah, they did. Mike, he's a super offensive tackle, but anytime I'm able to get 2 holding penalties against him, even though I wasn't able to bring down the quarterback, they work just as effective.
You guys pretty close at Michigan, were you?
Yeah, we were. We played on several Rose Bowl teams together, and it's a super opportunity to play against a fine offensive tackle like Mike Kent.
Well, since this guy's a defensive lineman, Joe, I'm going to let you talk to him.
As a defensive lineman, I know on some days when the weather is bad like that, it makes it very difficult to get to the quarterback because of the footing. Was there a problem today, seeing that you did not get any sacks today?
Oh, definitely. Like I mentioned before, anytime you're able to get 2 holding penalties, they act just as effective as sacking a quarterback. But weather like this, it is an asset to the offensive lineman. And we really just tried to get in Barkowski's face and make him throw away a few balls. And I think overall we were successful at it.
You guys normally do a lot of stunning, I know, under your new assistant head coach, Floyd Peterson. Is the weather also a factor in slowing down that stunning type defense?
Oh, it is, because as I mentioned before, it is an asset to the offensive lineman. But to speak a little bit more on Floyd Peters, I think he is the defense what Bill Walsh is the offense. He's really a genius, and he's brought us a long way as a defensive unit.
You like the 4-man front much better than the 3-man rush?
Oh, I do, because it gives me an opportunity to use my athletic ability a little bit more. And with Coach Peters, the sky's the limit for me.
I don't know. Joe always tells me he'd love to get a chance to play that 3-man front, play the nose tackle, Joe, right?
No, I like the type of defense that they play. As he was saying, it does give them an opportunity to free themselves up and give them more variety of the things that they can do.
Right.
Today, I noticed that you shut down the running game pretty good, with the exception of one play, and it appeared that you were rushing the quarterback, which opened up for Riggs to go up the middle. Could you explain that a little bit for me?
Well, late in the game, we really felt that they had to throw the ball to get back in the game, and we did have a stunt. They picked it up properly, and he was able to break it up the middle. We was in a cover 6. Both safeties were flying to the corner, so really it gave an opportunity for him to pick up valuable yardage for him.
Talk a little more, if you would, Curtis, about what changes that Floyd Peters has made in this defensive football team.
Well, basically, we were a 3-man line, but when he came here, every place he's been, he's accomplished 60 to 70 sacks with the Detroit Lions and San Francisco 49ers. So really, it just gives me an opportunity to use my ability a little bit more to go one-on-one with offensive tackle, and we have stunts to counter anytime they're trying to pick me up double team. So it really gives everyone an opportunity to get into the act and sack the quarterback.
How much does that equipment weigh right now?
Well, with this rain, it's weighing me down.
I know it's pouring down rain. And one thing you got to remember, Curtis, is you have to be a quarterback, because we get the quarterbacks on first on the post-game show, and the poor defensive guys always have to wait last. But congratulations on a great effort, great victory, and I know you want to get into the warm locker room, so take that headset off and start sprinting.
Oh, I thank you.
Okay. Congratulations, number 75.
I'll go a long way.
That's great. Curtis Greene, the defensive end of the St. Louis Cardinals. We take a look at the statistics. The first downs wound up dead even, but you can see the Cardinals had the big edge in the rushing department at 122 of those 203 yards came from the talented feet of Mr. O.J. Anderson, who, as we mentioned, had his best day of the year. The Falcons came back throwing the football. A lot of that yardage, the 143 yards, came a little bit late.
Yes, it did, and the rushing yardage is what caused them to keep control of the football, which was the key to the ball game. They kept the ball away from Atlanta's offense.
Well, it turned out to be a very, very exciting football game. Cardinals ahead at halftime 13-6 and had to withstand that last drive and the missed field goal by Mick Luckhurst with just 6 seconds left to play in the game, which would have sent this contest into overtime. But with the victory, the Cardinals right back into the conference race, the race for the playoffs, as their season record is even at 2-2. And the Atlanta Falcons, of course, opened up with a victory against the New York Giants and then were beaten by the Los Angeles Raiders. And they came back with a great performance last week, and they got beat this week. So it's been kind of an up and down season, I guess you'd say, for Lehman Bennett's team.
Yes, it has. And as he was saying earlier this week, that was one of the biggest problems that he had in dealing with his ball club and in trying to create some consistency, that intensity coming off of a big win. They have had a roller coaster season, and that has been the history of the Atlanta Falcons.
And they weren't talking strike today. They were hitting hard. And, of course, again, this is a big week with the strike ratification vote coming up on Friday. But big victory for the St. Louis Cardinals. Our thanks certainly to you for joining us this afternoon on what's been a very wet afternoon. In case you didn't hear the count, this stadium holds better than 60,000 fans. 33,000 showed up, and I'm sure those 33,000 sounded like 60,000 as we got down to that last minute and a half or so, but I'm sure another 26,000 no-shows, which I think may set a record for tickets sold and people not showing up or screaming just as loud in front of their television set here at home.
Yes, they were, and I think the important thing here was that we did have an exciting football game and that was interesting, and it went right down to the wire.
Okay, 23-20 our final score here from Atlanta. Stay with us. Brent Musburger returns from New York in just a moment.
Welcome back to New York. I'm Brent Musburger with Irv Cross on my left and Big Lawrence Taylor over here on the right in case Irv and I need a little help getting through all these scores and highlights. We got a lot of final scores and a lot of action coming your way. So let's get started now. Chicago and Minnesota. And Tommy Kramer, tendonitis. What tendonitis? 35-7 now. The Vikings even their record under Bud Grant at 2-2. And the Bears under Mike Ditka, well, they sink now to 1-3. But Jim McMahon had the Bears on the board first. Emery Moorhead, the tight end, that was a 50-yarder. But after that, it was Kramer and the Viking attack. Watch now, slot left. Beautiful move by Sammy White. Draws one-on-one with Rashad taking the cornerback a little bit deeper there, and that knotted the game all up. And Kramer was not finished. Here he was coming back again.
This time, Joe Cinch to the tight end, taking a block down inside the 5-yard line, sneaking it from 1 yard out.
And again we have Kramer, this time rolling out of trouble in the Metrodome, going deep downfield, and again it was Sammy White, this time for 65 yards. And Kramer pulls out, looks for Sammy, who caught his second touchdown on the game, and you got to wonder, where was Ahmad Rashad at that attack today?
Well, you know, it's sort of like in basketball. You always go to the man with the hot hand. Apparently, Sammy White had somebody in his hip pocket today.
All right, and of course, we had a final out of Cincinnati. Marcus Allen and the Raiders were stopped by Forrest Gregg and the Bengals. 31-17 was the final in that game. Nasty weather conditions down there in Cincinnati. It had rained. It was a wet field. Now, here is Kenny Anderson of the Bengals. He'll go to Rodney Holman in the end zone for a touchdown, and the Bengals were up by 7. As for Jim Plunkett, a quick turnaround after that tough Monday night comeback against San Diego. This one's picked off by Ken Riley. He hauls it back 53 yards for a touchdown. That is the 53rd career interception by Riley. Tops in the NFL. But Plunkett wasn't finished. Cliff Branch got open on this play. 34 yards for the touchdown. It was 14-10 the Bengals over the Raiders. Plunkett back again, this time going to Marcus Allen for a 14-yard gain. They stopped Allen from scrimmage. 8 carries, no gain, so Plunkett had to throw the ball to try to get him some room. Now it's Anderson. He'll be forced to scramble here, and he does indeed. From tiny Augustana, he can still leg it into the end zone for 11 yards and a touchdown, and so the Bengals would dearly love to get back to that Super Bowl and try to win it this time. All of these are final scores again. Washington downing Philadelphia this afternoon, 13-9. We're going to ask Lawrence Taylor about Joe Theismann after you see these plays right here. There's big Harold Carmichael and Dick Vermeil. It's been a tough season for him. Now here comes Charlie Brown. He's caught a touchdown pass in each of the Redskins' 4 games so far this year. 65 yards on this play right here by the young man who's out of South Carolina State. Now it was Ron Jaworski after a tough first half, trying to bring them back against this rugged Redskin defense that has really picked up the pace as they stopped Louis Giamona. We told you Wilbert Montgomery was going to play. What did we know? He didn't play at all. Finally, it was Harold Carmichael at 6'8", beating the smaller cornerback and getting on into the end zone for a touchdown that made it close. Then with time running out, down to a minute 50, Jaworski working to the sideline, served up the interception. Tony Peters, and that stopped the Eagles' drive. And after that, the Redskins simply took charge of the football game, and it was a long, tough afternoon for Ron Jaworski. And Lawrence, what about Theismann now and the Redskins? Unbeaten, you've gone up against him. How good a quarterback is he right now?
Well, Theismann is such a great athlete, and also he's intelligent. He can drop back and roll out of the pocket and scramble and hit the open receiver. So he adds a great dimension to the Washington Redskins team.
Lawrence, as a linebacker, you're so active. Are you conscious of someone like Theismann as you make your move in? Do you kind of have to hesitate to make sure he's not going to try to come around you?
Well, a lot of time when I rush, you know, I like to go inside, take the inside, and most of the time I can run the quarterback down if he tries to scramble out. But against Joe, you have to stay outside because you never know when he's going to try to break the pocket, and he can cause a lot of trouble.
Boy, a big doubleheader game next week. Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys. You better get done early so you can watch that game, Lawrence. We will continue here on the NFL Today in just a moment. Back to the scoreboard, and this could be a very long, tough season for Frank Cush, but if he keeps it up, he's got a shot at John Elway. 20-0. The Bills down the Colts. They are now 0-4 on the season. Atlanta and St. Louis. As many of you know, Atlanta had a chance to tie it. Mick Luckhurst missed a field goal at the buzzer, and the Cardinals win that one by 3. New England and Houston. Both teams led by new quarterbacks today. Steve Grogan gets the job done. 29 over Archie Manning and the Oilers. They're 21. And finally, the Packers and the Jets. Billed is the game of the day, and it lived up to its reputation. It did, except for the kickers. They kept missing extra points and field goals. And here's a man you could be hearing a lot about, Philip Epps, a world-class sprinter. He got open twice for Lynn Dickey and scored the Packer touchdowns. But Richard Todd is a rapidly maturing quarterback. And Lamb Jones, another world-class sprinter, he gets open for a touchdown. And Bart Starr knew that he was going to need some help. And he got it here from Mike Douglas, who intercepted the ball and got it back down to the Jet 24-yard line. And you know the Packers story. They got Lofton, they got Jefferson, they got Ivory. They were drawing all the attention. So let's go back, and Philip Epps, a 12th round draft choice out of TCU, still another touchdown. But then it was the winning touchdown. Mike Augustiniak from 5 yards out. He got the score. And, Lawrence, I got to ask you something. The Sack Exchange, they get all the publicity in this town. You ever get jealous, all that ink and all that attention they get?
No, the Sack Exchange is a pretty good defensive line, you know. I respect them, but I feel we have a good defensive line also and good linebackers. There's not a guy on the Jets team I would trade for anybody on our team.
Yeah, you told her, of course, this is Giant City, right?
You got it.
Okay, let's get back to the scoreboard. We still have some other scores to report because, of course, we have some games that have just gotten underway. The Los Angeles Rams, they can't be any worse. They're scoreless now against the Chiefs. They are in the first quarter of that game out in Anaheim, and the Chiefs have just scored and added the extra point. 7-0. It's the first time the Chiefs have ever played the Rams out there in Los Angeles. The Broncos right now have kicked the field goal. They lead the Chargers in San Diego 3-0. They are in the first quarter of that game. And again, these are contests just underway. The Seahawks with a field goal. How about that over the Steelers? The Seahawks' new coach, of course, is Mike McCormick, and he is trying to win for the second time this season. And so we have one more. The Saints and the 49ers are scoreless. They are in the first quarter of that game. The Saints 2-1, the 49ers 1-2. Now, next Saturday, the real season begins and ends for two college teams. For the two military academies, Army and Navy, all the other games this year have been mere training maneuvers. Next week, when they go at each other in the traditional war, it's for keeps.
All those that like to give the big blue team their undying support, like to beat Army 6 years in a row, like to have the West Point football team disband and get a big piece of mule meat this weekend, answer by saying aye!
Of all the rivalries in college football, none is as spirited as the one between Army and Navy. And this year's battle, the 83rd meeting between the cadets and the midshipmen. In the 40s, Army dominated, one of the greatest college football teams of all time, led by Heisman Trophy winners Doc Blanchard and Glenn Davis. Then the Navy started to come back under quarterbacks like Roger Staubach.
The night before the Army-Navy game, I really could not sleep. The only game my whole career that I could not sleep the night before the game, I was that nervous. It was a good, healthy nervousness, but all I heard about was Army-Navy plebe year. Here I was a starting quarterback. The only time in my history of athletics that I was that nervous before a game where I couldn't sleep. It was a big game, 102,000 fans at one time in the old Kennedy Stadium, and it was a big deal, bigger than any Super Bowl I ever played in, as far as that one particular moment and that one event.
There'll be a lot of sleepless nights this week as Army and Navy get ready to play for bragging rights and a lot of pride.
We know that we've got to do it. It's a matter of pride to us now, and we're going to do it.
Got to do it. And a reminder, Army-Navy starts at high noon next Saturday with the NCAA Today here on CBS. Let's ask Lawrence the Greek who he likes next week, Army or Navy, big fella?
Well, you know, a game like that with such tradition is hard to pick. because you throw all records out the window. And,
You sound just like somebody else I know.
But I like Navy. Navy looked very impressive a couple weeks ago against Notre Dame, and I think they'll have the more pride and we'll win the game.
All right, Lawrence, thank you very much for being with us. Good luck next week. And Irv, we'll see you next weekend. A couple of big games on Sunday. Minnesota, Miami, the Cowboys, and the Redskins. Have a nice week, everybody. So long.